Obnoxious, I'm knocking, yeah, I'm taking your bag. I feel like I'm caustic, looting your buddy, your homie still choking on gas. I'm laughing, bigging the enemy, hoping they pick up your slack. Yeah, winning now feels like a thing of the past. The props are gonna throw up the glass. We take what we want, we leave in the trash. Racking up facts as we move through the map. We're waiting for people to follow my track. Through the swamps, don't take what we want. Tipping down, living some 50 day. What we owing, man, through the dawn, flat line, like you up. Always getting what we want, but it never is enough.
My methods are only controversial to those who lack imagination.
I feel like I'm caustic, I'm breathing on gas. They're on the smoke, patient we wait to attack. I feel like I lost it, I see through the gas. Obnoxious, I'm knocking, yeah, I'm taking your bag. I feel like I'm caustic, I'm breathing on gas. They're on the smoke, patient we wait to attack. I feel like I lost it, I see through the gas. Obnoxious, I'm knocking, yeah, I'm taking your bag. I'm throwing out cans, I'm betting you won't. Peacekeeper making you dance, you know I'm the GOAT. Champion squad, every time we go, this legend control. I'm climbing the top, no matter the toll. I climb to the top, no matter the toll. I'm throwing out cans, I'm betting you won't. Peacekeeper making you dance, you know I'm the GOAT. Champion squad, every time that we go, this legend control. I climb to the top, no matter the toll.
Yeah, hey, I climb to the top.
I climb to the top, no matter the toll. Take a look at the scoreboard. I thought that you would do more. I'm giving this my everything. I'm the best that you have ever seen. I'm stunning. I'm going in. Where is my team? Nobody slays like I slay. Come on, girl. Nobody slays like I slay. This is my world. Nobody slays like I slay. Come on, girl. Nobody slays like I slay. This is my world. Nobody slays like I slay. This is my world. I'm stunning. I'm going Ooh, like the 301 hum, bats of bullets off your chest to the armor falling off, oh god. All this gas making you cough, feeling caustic when I drop. Leave your body in a pile, let it rot. Shield cells got a lot, watch you move, you a bot. Watch you fade like a thought, Skull Town where I bang. Watch your life, watch your drain, never getting off the train. Never drop another game, yeah. 301 in my hands, different drop, same plan. To my squad, I'm the man, I'm a witness, no I can't. Sending shots, no spam, accurate, watch them slam, watch them run while they can, make them slump. Give me the loot, take what I want, all of my rounds, I light like the sun, yeah I am the one, lighting you up. R301, you're all that I need, you're all that I want. We at the top, act like we scum, taking your life and leaving the crumbs. Do what we want, we get the dub, living that life, yeah R301. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. Ooh, let the 301 hum, bats of bullets off your chest to the armor falling off, oh god. All this gas making you cough, feeling caustic when I drop. Leave your body in a pile, let it rot. Shield cells got a lot, watch you move, you a bot. Watch you fade like a thought, Skull Town where I bang. Watch your life, watch your drain, never getting off the train. Never drop another game, yeah. Ooh, let the 301 hum, bats of bullets off your chest to the armor falling off, oh god. All this gas making you cough, feeling caustic when I drop. Leave your body in a pile, let it rot. Shield cells got a lot, watch you move, you a bot. Watch you fade like a thought, Skull Town where I bang. Watch your life, watch your drain, never getting off the train. Never drop another game, yeah. Let the 301 hum, bats of bullets off your chest to the armor falling off, oh god. All this gas making you cough, feeling caustic when I drop. Leave your body in a pile, let it rot. Shield cells got a lot, watch you move, you a bot. Watch you fade like a thought, Skull Town where I bang. Watch your life, watch your drain, never getting off the train. Never drop another game, yeah. Ooh, let the 301 hum, bats of bullets off your chest to the armor falling off, oh god. All this gas making you cough, feeling caustic when I drop. Leave your body in a pile, let it rot. Shield cells got a lot, watch you move, you a bot. Watch you fade like a thought, Skull Town where I bang. Watch your life, watch your drain, never getting off the train. Never drop another game, yeah. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. I got the sights, H-Cog, barrel stabilized, no rock. Standing back, more shots, standard stock, ready pop. Run up feeling dirty, hit 'em with the 30-30. Dropping with me, that's a 50-50, and ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away, we the third party. Yeah, we all in, yeah, we mobbing down the hill and they falling. I'm looting up they squad, yeah, they ballin', I'm ballin'. I told you we would get it, yeah, I called it. We keep on queuing up, we just can't get enough. These wins are stacking up, my ops like a lake, yeah, they spotted up. We know when to run, we know when to fry. We turning, we burning, we leaving the odds to die. Run up feeling dirty, hit 'em with the 30-30. Dropping with me, that's a 50-50, and ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away, we the third party. Golden light mag, leave your body in a bag. Was a 3-1, but it was a 1v3. Bet you mad, rolling round a circle like a private lobby. They gon' need a 3rd, 4th, 5th party if they wanna stop me. Call me the meta man, they copy when they can. They just don't understand. I got this mastiff and I'm ripping up your plans. Line, let it slam. My bullets blood, you open up the dam. Everything I do, this the way I am. Run up feeling dirty, dirty. Hit 'em with the 30-30. Drop it with me, that's a 50-50. And ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away. We the 3rd party. Run up feeling dirty, dirty. Hit 'em with the 30-30. Drop it with me, that's a 50-50. And ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away. We the 3rd party. Yeah. We all in. Yeah, we mobbing down the hill and they falling. I'm looting up they squad, yeah, they ballin', I'm ballin'. I told you we would get it, yeah, I called it. We keep on queuing up, run up feeling dirty, dirty. Hit 'em with the 30-30. Drop it with me, that's a 50-50. And ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away. We the 3rd party. Run up feeling dirty, dirty. Hit 'em with the 30-30. Drop it with me, that's a 50-50. And ain't never learning. Back to the lobby, got you playing sloppy. Triple take your life away. We the 3rd party. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. We're going left, I need you by my side. We're going left, tell me why you're always on the right. Don't decide, I just need you to barely try. No, I fry, I just need you to not die. There's one left, I need you to win this fight. You should've rested, we lose like this every time. Go ahead and cry, you're not getting better. This isn't fine, we can't play together. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. And tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Going left, I need you by my side. Going left, while you're always on the right. Don't decide, I just need you to barely try. No, I fry, I just need you to not die. There's one left, I need you to win this fight. You should've rested, we lose like this every time. Go ahead and cry, you're not getting better. This isn't fine, we can't play together. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see. Tell me, where are you looking? There's no way that you cannot see what I see.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Tuesday and welcome to Excedrin Week here at Series E Apex Legends. My name is Yeso. I will be your host today. As always, excited to be back once again for more Series E Apex action. We've got an incredible show for you here tonight. Of course, we've got our pros going up against open squads, competing for points and prize money here tonight, and I'm certainly looking forward to all of that. We're going to have a couple of great casters on the show as well tonight. My good friends Dia and Vicky Kitty will be bringing you all of the action throughout all of tonight's games, so look forward to hearing from them very soon. But for those of you that may be new and don't know how things work here at Series E, I can break it down for you. Okay, Series E is a professional esports open circuit across multiple titles. We've got Apex Legends, Guilty Gear Strive, and the newly minted Halo Infinite circuit that does start at the end of this month. Now, the way things work is teams or players come compete in our open qualifiers. If you are one of the best placements in those open qualifiers, you can qualify for Series E, and if you do so, you will get drafted by one of our partner brands. You will sign a contract. You will get a monthly salary, and you'll get to compete weekly for points and prize money. Now in Apex, we compete every Tuesday against other open squads, just like these teams used to be themselves. And then every Wednesday, they play against some of the best pro teams from all across North America. If you and your squad want to get in on the fun, head over to matcherino.com/ESA for a shot at being a future Series E Pro. Now, of course, it is Excedrin Week here on Series E, so we will be talking a lot about all of our partnered squads, but a little bit of an extra focus on Team Excedrin here as they prepare to try and chase down Team Vizio. Now, of course, as we jump into week number 5, Team Vizio has been the talk of the town for the first 4 weeks of the season, and rightfully so. The squad has yet to lose on an open night competition. 4 first place finishes in a row for the team. Now, while they have yet to translate that dominant success into a top placing on Wednesday nights, they continue to put up good points and have a sizable lead at the top of our Series E leaderboard, which we will bring up for you here momentarily, just so we can look at the state of all of the squads in the standings right now. Now, of course, Excedrin come into this week sitting in second place, but there's a sizable margin between themselves and Team Vizio. As you can see on your screen right now, 189 points separate second from first place. So it really is just Vizio in a league of their own right now with the rest of the teams behind them. And it is quite a tight race, despite Team Splash being all the way down at the bottom of these standings. It's just 58 points that separates themselves from Excedrin. So really nothing has been decided between second and sixth place at this point in the season. And of course, Excedrin is looking to build off of some good performances themselves. I talked about them last week, and they're a squad that has continued the trend that we saw from them in qualifiers. The qualifiers for this season, while the squad wasn't winning single qualifier events or even necessarily placing in the top 2, they were consistently putting points on the board, and that was why, despite looking at other squads that were winning nights and putting up those big point totals to jump themselves into the conversation, Excedrin continued to stay near the top of the standings in qualifiers because they just consistently put points on the board. And as I said, that continues this season. It's a big reason why they are in second place, but they are going to need to break that mold a little bit if they want to have a hope of chasing down Vizio. With the way that Vizio plays, you're going to have to knock them down a few pegs, get some wins on open nights to close that gap. Otherwise, Vizio is going to keep building on that lead. Somebody asked me today, do I feel like, Vizio has locked in their spot for next season? Is there a specific point threshold that I think if they hit, they're good and they're done and they'll be in for next season? Well, there isn't necessarily, of course, with the way things work, there's no specific point threshold there, but I would say, as we have just finished the first quarter of the season, if we see Team Vizio, I would say at about an 800 point mark or better by the end of week 8, which is the halfway point of the season, I would say they are pretty much a lock for season 5. Now, what does that mean? That's 295 points for Team Vizio. They've already gathered 505 through the first 4 weeks of the season. So I would say that's a pretty low bar for this team. Unless they absolutely collapse, there's no reason why Vizio shouldn't be able to lock in a spot for next season at a very early date. But we'll have to see how that goes. And of course, the eyes are now all on the rest of the squads, those other 5 to grab those final 2 slots. Of course, right now, Excedrin and Intel do control 2nd and 3rd place. But as I mentioned, that margin is not large between 2nd and last place. So really, anybody is in the running, and especially when you consider we are still very early in the season. This is just week 5 of 16 total that these teams will be competing. So very important for these teams to take the time now, figure out some of the issues that they've had, try and understand what has been holding them back through the first 4 weeks of the season, and then build on those things. You can't take too long because, of course, if you hit that halfway mark and you're still in a deep hole, you're going to have a difficult back half of the season. But there is time for these teams to learn and grow and mature and then make that push for a top 3 slot. I believe we are just about ready to get into the action. Of course, I mentioned our awesome casters that I'm excited to hear from today. My good friend Dia and Vicky Kitty will be bringing you all of the fun. It's going to be an absolute blast. So I'm looking forward to all these games and seeing if maybe somebody can finally unseat Team Vizio. Of course, I've enjoyed it. I picked them to win this season, so I win either way. But let's see if somebody can challenge them and knock them off of that pedestal. Let's kick off Series E Apex Legends right now.
Series E.
Series E.
Series E.
Series E. Series E.
Apex Legends.
Apex Legends.
Series E Apex Legends starts right now.
And now we're seeing once again, just like Game 2, slow down, but Fury
Time and time again, and geez, they think they're winning it. Chances are they're winning it.
It gets thirsted by Zera Tricky as Hacula is going to come around the corner with the spray, and now it's just one player alive over here.
Welcome to the casting desk, ladies and gentlemen, here at Esports Arena back in 2022. Vicky and I will be bringing you the action, and it could not come at a better time, Vicky. We are so close to the takedown of Vizio, and as much as I like Yeso, as much as I enjoy seeing him succeed, I also want to see somebody take down Vizio and at least make this season feel like it's got a little bit of interplay. People have been catching up, and it has been a slow but certain journey, and now that it's Excedrin week, the timing couldn't be better.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to see which of these teams are going to be the ones to dethrone Vizio, because they've just been on a terrorizing run right now. Looking at the last few weeks here in the Series E Opens, can they take another tournament? We're going to have to see, but Team Excedrin, it's going to be Excedrin week here, Dia. And if there is any other team that has their eyes for that first place spot, it's 100% going to be Team Excedrin.
It really has. Their placements over the last couple of weeks have continued going up, and last week was one of their best so far, actually having the highest kills out of any squad on the open night. And the open nights are what we're focusing on, because of course, if you haven't had the chance to catch up with Series E just yet, we've got 2 different nights, open nights, where the partnered squads will compete against anyone and everyone who comes in to fight their way to the top, and the closed nights, or the pro nights, where the partnered squads will fight their way against some of the professional level teams. And let's not cut it differently. We've definitely got a lot more chaos happening on the professional nights as the partnered squads have to adjust back and forth. But today, we've got a slightly different roster of teams, and let's take a look at who they are besides Excedrin, besides Vizio, besides all the partnered squads that we've come to know and love.
Yeah, you know, Team Vizio being one of those teams that have absolutely been dominating within the last few weeks. You could see here the teams that are going to be competing against our 6 sponsored teams today. You got some familiar names actually coming right back again, trying to get their hands at revenge. Looking at the last few weeks here, I've recognized Premier GG, TBA, Stick Drift OP, Unorganized, We Touch Grass, Hardstuck D4S. So many of these familiar players that are looking for their revenge, because again, at the end of the day, aside from these 6 sponsored teams, we have these open teams that are trying to make their mark within the scene.
Yeah, and to take the top spot really does send a message, because you have so many really competitive teams showing up today. One of the ones that catches my eye that isn't a partner team right off the bat is TBA, and I'm going to add KOP and running late to that as well. I wish I could go on forever. I wish I could name all of them, but if I had to pick 3 that are currently not partnered, those would be my shots here, especially because they come with so much of that familiarity that you and I have talked about. If you've been watching Pro League as well, you'll also likely recognize a lot of these folks. folks in Challenger Circuit, it just gets better and better. All of these names are around the Apex scene constantly, and Vizio, notably as Team W in Pro League right now, have been innovating in the meta ever since Pro League really started, and have just kept that going.
Yeah, Team W is a top 10 team in the Pro League, and they're getting ready right now for playoffs. This is a week full of Apex action. I mean, for the last month, actually, just as the month has started for the new year, it's been a great look at the Apex competitive scene, and that's what a lot of these unsigned teams want to be able to be familiar with. They want to be able to be in competition with a lot of these high-level players, and that's what Series E is all about.
Now as the pro scene continues to evolve, there is, of course, the one constant that we have, and that is how you end up winning the day. Today we'll be playing 6 games in total, and over those 6 games, teams will be accumulating points. Points can come from your placements. If you place first, as you can see over on the right-hand side of your screen, you get 12 points. Second comes with 9 points, all the way down to anyone between 11th and 15th getting just the 1 point. However, Vicky, there's one more very crucial way that you can rack up points, and perhaps you can enlighten me.
Oh yeah, getting those kills are just as important as making sure you have those placement points themselves. Each point counts. Each kill counts as a point, and that's why you see some teams prioritize at the very start of these games managing to get as aggressive as possible, because, you know, if you start off the night very nicely here sitting on a lot of points, then you could play each game going forward, since there's going to be 6 games in total tonight, at a more calmer pace to see and match against a lot of these other teams and their approach to the compositions that they're going to bring into these games.
Yeah, and you'll get a lot of composition exploration here as well, because just that last word that we touched upon has really been in flux. You and I were discussing just before coming on the show today about how, of course, Valkyrie has changed things up, about how the introduction of Ashe has opened things up for edge teams as well. And as people start to discover not just what is objectively best, it's not about solving the game necessarily, but really picking what works best for your playstyle. A lot of the partnered squads and everyone else as well are going to be experimenting with what exactly is pushing them to their best, what is enabling their playstyle, and that has been in constant flux since we started, and it's not just Vizio that are innovating, it's everyone else as well.
Yeah, you were talking about it actually right before the cast here, Dia. Team Excedrin exploring with some different tricks up their sleeve. I'm wondering if a lot of these other teams that we're not so familiar with are going to approach the composition in the same way, where things are kind of getting mixed up here. Again, as I was saying, Pro League is around the corner here. The playoffs are around the corner. You have teams like W who want to make sure that they could solidify their composition where they feel comfortable, and that's why Team Vizio has been dominating so far within the Series E. But are we going to have any of these other teams come out of left field with a different compositional approach? We're going to have to wait and see, because I think this is the perfect setting for a lot of these teams to figure out what they feel most comfortable using.
I'll tell you what, Vicky, if I see more Loba, I'm going to be happy. If I see more Ashe, I'm going to be happy. Those two, I'd say criminally underused right now, especially because of the different ways in which they bring a lot of utility to the team. Utility mostly has been dominated by Valkyrie recently, but as you mentioned with that Bloodhound, and as can be touched upon with the other legends that we mentioned, like the Loba and the Ashe, it's really that character that you get to change out and try and find new ways into the games, into victory with. The Gibraltar, of course, a mainstay of competitive Apex Legends, and that really hasn't gone anywhere in the past little while. As things have been changing, though, I wonder whether the gun game will change as well, because we have got a lot of questions around whether Rampage will still be used. Of course, as we prepare to jump into the lobby, we're going to take just a very short break, and we'll be right back with Game 1.
Verses coming daily under pressure. Working on the plot and the scheme. The true side trademark is at the edge of your dreams. I'm talking. Yeah. One shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. The memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. Get the balls in the breaks. I'm talking one chance at the soul. Go for the code. It's one shot. Now the future is yours. Go.
Excedrin.
I'm fading.
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
refreshing, refreshingly sweet. But without sugar, 0 calorie treat. They're all our top bars. Flavored splash.
It's fruit freshin'.
Excedrin.
I'm fading.
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin. Game over for headaches.
My name is Kim Chiui.
My name is Cruisin.
My name is Enemy.
Boom! Excedrin, congratulations, Team Tonka.
And I play Apex Legends.
And I play Apex Legends for Team Excedrin.
For Team Excedrin, and you're watching Excedrin Week. Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Enemy taking the con. It's at that. They're stuck on the low.
Let's go!
Slow ring closing in. It's going to be the full set, and it is Team Excedrin on the other side of this one. Kimchi Lee receiving.
Rotate out towards that building.
But it looks like Kimchi is between Excedrin and Duelers, and Excedrin's. This is not a fight you want to lose right now. You need these points. Thankfully, Cruisin, sitting with a purple shield to boot, definitely has all the makings to find success here. The Seer.
And welcome back, folks. At long last, we are ready to get into Game 1. And, well, I have just gotten more and more excited. The tension has continued to build because, really, the first day of any week here at Esports Arena will set the tone for everything else. And, while all of our players have been trying their best to muddle through the technical issues to get here, I'm sure that they're getting a lot of pent-up energy as well. So, with World's Edge on the horizon, we've still got, of course, Excedrin Week to be hyped up about all the teams that we talked about earlier as well, and especially this week, the challenge coming from those squads that are not partnered is going to be pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially being able to claim some of these sponsored teams out here, Dia. That's a big feat here for a lot of these teams who are hyping up Team Vizio for all the right reasons. This is the team that has been taking every single Series E open within the last 4 weeks, and followed up right behind them, Team Excedrin, and this is their week to shine. I'm wondering here, after some changes to the Sentinel and Rampage, are we going to see these teams pop off with said guns? I'm not too sure, but I'm looking forward to it, especially coming out of the qualifiers that just happened last weekend.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I am really curious as to whether people will still be hyped, especially on the Rampage, because while it was taken off the ground for a little while, it is also possible that people have found sort of different alternatives to that. And, of course, that the reactivity of the lobby will maybe go a little bit more towards what is in the crafter. I believe Boosted Loader was in there today, as well as a shotgun bolt, so maybe we see a few more Wingman PKs roaming around, and that can get very spicy very quickly. I will say, I experiment a little bit, but that sort of high burst, high risk play style may just look a lot better on stage than it does in my own games.
We're going to have to see here because the Res Beacon's also in that replicator too. So that's going to be quite funny here as some of these teams could also use that to make up some makeshift cover. But we're getting started here with game number 1 out of our 6 games for the entire night, Dia. I'm excited. We're going to get right into it. And look at some of these teams already setting up their landing spot. We have a team landing at No Name to prioritize that beacon, as well as a team kind of split up a little bit over at Epicenter.
Yeah, I like that KOP landing over by Epicenter do get this really nice, generally uncontested landing. But this is one of the teams that we wanted to highlight. Team Excedrin on their very own week, making their way far away over to Thermal. They have landed here ever since week 1. No changes, no questions, and now with a very northern zone, have the chance to play this edge play style all the way through the map.
Oh, this is awesome. And also, I'm getting word here. It's actually 5 games today, so this first game is going to be extremely important because it's one less game where a lot of our players are used to going through. So this first game is going to determine the pace that a lot of our teams want to start off in. And already starting off here, it's already getting aggressive. Looking at some of these teams that are trying to fight for that 50-50 over by Thermal.
Oh my god, there's so much happening in Lava Siphon as well. Everybody's just sorting themselves out. And you know what? That's what happens in game 1, especially on open nights, because not all these teams have played against each other before, especially in this same lobby. So, sort of figuring out where everybody wants to be is a big thing. However, it seems like Turns doesn't need any warm-up at all. Already cracking with the 30-30, and Nerf end up finding first blood for themselves.
And with Force also having that Rampage ready, we're talking a little bit about it, Dia. Well, it's come out, and he's got the purple Evo Shield. They got the first knock, so they're going to be able to push in, try to close in this gap, but there's some open space here that they're forced to traverse. They're just trying to wait for the opportunity with Demi now just backing off, not trying to overextend at the same time.
Yeah, you pull a little bit of focus over here with the L-Star, running a little low on ammunition, but with the Eva just next, it's a matter of waiting for the Ape, and here it comes. Demi walking up, has a Gibraltar around the corner, and with the Valkyries making such good use of the mobility, now right in range of where you want to be with the shotgun, does end up finding the next knock onto Boney Tony, take out Jet as well, do Nerf, and we're down to 19 squads.
Already off the rip too, and you can see Team Nerf, they're starting off real strong here, and finishing up that fight is extremely important in the early game, so that way they can start prioritizing their rotation now that they've secured some KP for themselves. But look at this, over on the other side by Climatizer, there's another fight going on with K-Op now moving forward into the building.
Yeah, they're a very scary squad. We saw them land by Epicenter earlier, so their loot may not be the most intimidating. However, holding up inside of Climatizer with this Caustic as well will make sure that they are likely to secure quite a few more placement points than they would any team roaming up from the south. Given that they have that Valkyrie, though, I'm curious about how they'll use Prodigy Aces in the future. They don't have as many opportunities to make use of that high mobility that Valkyrie provides you across the map, so instead it's going to come a lot more down to how they manage the high ground up here.
Ooh, Casillas actually has that light extended mag too, so that's going to come in handy, especially looking at the composition that they're running. We're talking about some compositional switches, but the two big boys with the Valkyrie have been a mainstay in the Pro League as well as a Challenger circuit, so KOP now are going to be able to rep that, and they're also just trying to find an angle here while maintaining that security in the building with those gas traps.
Yeah, as long as you can, I would say, collect any sort of loot in the area as well, make this as easy for yourself as possible, because, well, any shield bats and cells look nice for now. They're the only things you're going to collect for a while until that fighting starts to break out. And with Vizio roaming in, maybe it breaks out a little bit faster than you would expect to. Already making their way through Epicenter that should be empty right now. Vizio love, ever since week 1, holding this height above Fragment and picking off kills as teams desperately run by them.
And what's beautiful here is that we've seen this in the Pro League from TSM. This is a great spot that TSM usually rotates to whenever it's those northern maps. And Vizio, they're actually calling the move to rotate quickly. They want to prioritize that, and Unorganized actually in a fight themselves over by Geyser. Luck is in some trouble here. Can he even get back to the bunker? We're going to have to see. He aborts healing. He manages to close the bunker right behind them. But look at their shields that they're working off of right now. Other than Luck, you see Road Life here is only working with the white Evil Shield, so they may not want to contest this.
There's no time for them to stop either. Throwing a grenade behind him, Rowdy Life has to move because Ring is pulling everybody up further north, and Unorganized are not going to stop being chased anytime soon. At least this height, though, will provide them quite a bit of safety, as coming off the zip line, you expose yourself to a lot of risk. If Unorganized wanted to stop here, you wouldn't fault them, but it looks like the call is to keep going ever so slightly further, at least to try and set up a little deeper into this tunnel.
And it looks like to be the right call, too. You can see as Luck is just healing up, aside from those shield cells originally to get that purple shield up, but with syringes, too. Maybe they're low on loot in general here. Just having to rely on the syringes. No bats, no med kits just yet. Maybe just waiting to use it when the time is right later on. But it's like you said, they don't really have a lot of time here, as Rowdy is going to be able to estimate who's meeting them on the other side of this bunker doors. They're going to try to prioritize just going through this field here. He's got the portal too, but they want to save that for those rotations. They don't know who they're going to be running into soon at Overlook.
Check it out just ahead of them. They know that somebody's been there, though. Those loot pills were open. Checking back in with Nerf, of course, the team that got it started hot and heavy over by Lava Siphon. They've ended up finding another squad to contest as well, coming from the area over by Tree. It's possible, actually, that Excedrin could be in the area, given that this team is approaching from the south, and I really like that at least Demi is watching their backs and even sees that there's a little bit of shenanigans going on this junk tower. There's a knock right there. Yo-Yo gets taken down.
I love the tracking from Demi right there, too. You see the patience and the follow-up, too, from one of the other members of Nerf. They completely finish off that one player, and that was Yo-Yo going down. What a start here for Team Nerf. They got to keep up that momentum. These game ones are always so important to establish where these teams want to rotate, how quick they want to play these games, if they want to focus on KP instead of positioning. And Spacelanders, you can see the difference out of the coin. They're taking this slowly. With this composition, they want to be able to be holed up in this building with the caustic traps, but they're looking, they know that there's another squad nearby, and it's going to be Team Splash here, Team Nestle Splash, and they're just going to be holding the other side of the building, but no poking yet because we know that Team Vizio is on their way from Epicenter over to Climatizer to predict where that circle is going to be pulling.
Now, having Splash on the low ground does make things a lot harder up on height, especially because of the encroaching of these caustic barrels. Bonking Messiah in the head with one for just a moment. Shouldn't change the dynamic just yet. For Splash, it is about locking down the bottom floor because you can actually coexist in this building quite happily until a little bit later on. One of the other things, of course, that we've got to look out for is KOP that we know are on the other side of Climatizer. The exact same setup. Perhaps they will find themselves the next door neighbor as well. Razor up in the north, however, taking a fight of their own, finding Flesh. Dressup could push forward, and I believe very close to a knock right there. He's going to try and regroup with the rest of his squad, whittling the one in front of them down to just the two members. It's only ring one. You've got plenty of time to tank this up. Problem really comes with that jiggle that the ring puts on your aim.
Oh yeah, and so many of these fights happening outside of Circle. I also saw in the feed that Blight had gotten a knock, so that's Team Nestle Splash that are coming on top of that fight, maybe trying to secure that building entirely to themselves. You can see it right here. It looks like it looks like they already finished. What a quick fight for them, and look, they already took control over that second floor here, so they're going to be able to feel much more secure on this second floor, rather than that first where they could get contested by multiple squads at different angles.
Come on, Splash. We look away for 1 second, and you're already bullying other people in the lobby. It simply will not be tolerated. Down to 16 squads right now, and the 3 KP in the hands of Splash. Plenty to go around. Vizio starts to join the party, landing directly in the center of Climatizer. They are right in the middle of everyone, and what would normally be a very risky spot is actually sort of counterintuitively safe because nobody can afford to push up to Vizio since they'll be shot at by everyone else.
And they don't really have to worry about that loot too. They got that black market that they're using right now with Fury being on the low, but you ask and you shall receive out here, Dia. But this is something that Vizio has been repping. It's been working out fantastic for them, and they do see somebody right across the lot here. They also heard the fighting earlier from Splash, so they know that there's probably multiple teams in this location. They also were able to probably back off of the Valkyrie passive when they were able to fly in, so we're going to have to see how they approach that when it comes to their positioning.
I love that Scissors is also running the Wingman PK. It feels like just everything is coming up nice for us. We're getting a little bit of all of our predictions. With taking a look at the map, though, check it out. That is Excedrin are making their way into the very first ring, and nobody around just yet. And for a squad that was very high up in the kills just last week, this sort of slow approach is, I'll say, a little bit surprising from them. Granted, they've had to walk their way all the way over here, but their placements were something that they still needed to work on coming out of last week, and now I suppose this is going to have to be the game for it since they haven't gotten involved in any of the early action.
That's why I'm looking forward to see how a lot of these teams have adapted. Our 6 sponsored teams especially, since they're going to be able to build off of that knowledge. You see Team Razor now just trying to take an approach. They have the triple take, but they're out in the open field. And this is where Bursty won't really shine it other than the cars because he's on the Cossack and he's getting beamed himself. Forced to actually hide in a corner with some suppressed fire here from Drez. Great suppressed fire as he's holding on to that flat line. So many massives too. You're talking about the PK that we've been seeing in these lobbies, but with that shotgun bolt in the replicator, I'm not even surprised here, Dia.
No, this is super nice. Mastiff providing an immense amount of value, especially if you get that dual loader. Now, with Razor trying to make their rotation a little bit further in towards the south, they're essentially giving up the most northern part of the ring over by these train tracks, knowing that with a squad in their way, it is unlikely for them to come out on top of a fight, especially after Bursty had taken a chunk. The problem is, now they're sandwiched between two squads, and though not everybody is aware of it just yet, Razor are actually in a very risky position unless they can grab some sort of high ground or more consistent cover.
Yeah, and that's why they're just trying to opt to just dip in this situation. They recognize the situation. They do not want to get sandwiched here, especially with so many squads already prioritizing that last ring positioning. You have to imagine that a lot of the real estate here in these buildings are going to be taken up soon as Razor makes their approach.
They're running up right next door to Splash. Splash upstairs. Here's a little bit of knocking, and they go, oh my lord, we got to do this again. Even Arkstar, I believe, to grief the door, and Splash redirect their focus down towards the bottom floor barrel. Not going to end up being popped in their favor. Instead, the other way around, but Messiah already beaming with that Volt forces the dome, and Splash should win this fight if they want to take it. Blight is full sending it as well, and yet the dome provides just enough safety for Razor on the bottom floor to survive, and Splash once again find themselves with unwelcome neighbors.
And they know that Vizio's across the lot. They're going to also try to be taking chunks out of Team Splash as they are in this fight with Razor right below them. But they don't want to give up this real estate either. They want to hold on to the second floor. They have the distance here, and they have the ability to overcome a lot of these other fights, actually, as they approach from the low ground. You can see right now with Messiah taking some shots, taking a flank, too. He ignores the Cosmic Traps off to the right, and now this is the perfect cue for Splash to close this up.
Messiah, he just sees the opening there, but I wonder if it was going to end up being worth it. Chunked out very low, not too many knocks just yet. It's just Fearing Live that has gone down, and Phoenix barely gets the shield battery off in time to stay alive. Splash get the one pick, and they instantly back out, wary of the third party, up to that high ground that they know is safe for them. I am loving the control from this squad, and I suspect that Hardstuck D4s are not exactly the happiest about it, having lost one member. They're Caustic, most importantly, a big defensive tool for them.
Super huge here when it comes to maintaining these buildings, too. We saw exactly how Splash was able to do that, but look at the beamage coming in from the windows, from the doors. They find Silo, so you won't even have the dome to work off of in this situation.
Just one defensive tool after another is falling, and Hardstuck D4 is likely going to go down here. Splash is making the final move, and he slides Messiah one more time on his trademarked full send, picking himself up the kill and the red evo.
He don't miss. He's got that gold extended energy mag too. They're going to go for those shield swaps after they reset real quick here. They know that there's another squad right across the lot, and Team Nerf have made their way over to this exact spot here too, Climatizer. With the circle pulling up north here, Dia, I'm wondering if a lot of these teams are going to stay within these buildings, or if they're going to predict where we've seen sometimes this circle pull a little bit outside towards the east side of Climatizer, out in that open field.
It's actually very likely that Nerf are going to have to adapt, and oh my lord, they have to adapt even quicker than I thought. Being dropped on instantly by another squad. I don't think anybody expected this fight to happen, and Nerf are the ones benefiting from it, or at least it looked that way until now. A few more shots onto an Ash does mean that Nerf pick up at least 3 more kills, but now, with no dome and no safety, Turns has to res his teammates, get them back on the field, and I don't know if he's going to have the opportunity to, with that little bit of a knockdown shield providing just enough cover. Dini buys time for Force Squad to get back into the game, while KOP are trying to knock out others. Being taken down, of course, by Messiah one more time, but new threat coming in as well. This is a very, very scary spot for every team, as it's second, third, fourth parties even that are starting to stack up in Climatizer.
I mean, look at this. We went from 16 squads to 11 squads basically in that minute here. Nerf is still alive somehow. They do manage to get the res here after trying to utilize that knockdown shield as a baby dome for just some extra cover. You can even see the shots coming in from across the field. Meanwhile, Team Excedrin, they're holding onto the high ground, overlooking all the chaos over at Climatizer.
I think they're betting on exactly that pull as well that takes everybody just a little bit outside of Climatizer, because that is where this height is just going to become the greatest of kingdoms for them. trying to fight for autonomy over the bridge, however, is a trap that a lot of teams will fall into and that is more often than not deadly. It seems like for Excedrin, though, it is deadly in their favor. Kimchi already finding a knock onto 00 negative, and Excedrin are full pushing this, even utilizing a little bit of a black market that they've got in front of them right now. Stolen away, ironically. Enemy already looking for an angle here as well. A very young but talented player, a mere 16 years of age. This guy has really popped off in Series E so far, and just at popping onto the roof right now, shouldn't be able to get that kill. But we've seen stranger things happen.
Oh yeah, especially in these type of games here. TBA have also lost Davis in the process, and look at the building they're actually by. It's kind of the prediction that we were expecting here, and TBA actually is getting contested for that building that's a little bit outside of Climatizer. I also saw Splash popping off in the feed. Messiah is just having another game of his life out here, and Stick Drift OP, they clean up the KP, as well as picking up on this reset on the Evo Shields too. So they're going to be able to have a lot of that loot to work with, looking like they were in some trouble before that fight.
You know, the only thing nearly as majestic as Messiah's facial hair is his gameplay. Really, at close range, this guy can and will decimate, so I'm glad to see that we're getting some of those results right now. As we take a look at our Tomcat Rat Cam, it seems like Sung will be hiding out for TBA, seeing if he can get them a few more placement points, and make no mistake, it's very worthwhile. Already in the top 9 right now, you're getting the placements. The question is just how far you can take it. Splash trying to take it a little bit further, this time in the kill feed, pushing up on what could be Vizio or their next door neighbors. But Blight's going to send it on towards the low ground and actually ends up missing out on Phoenix for a little while. This Gibraltar has no upwards mobility, so Splash are permanently separated.
Yeah, now they're stuck on the low ground. They're split up a little bit, and look at this angle that Vizio is now taking. They're going to be able to overlook where those members of the team are split up right underneath that lava center, and Vizio isn't fighting within the close range of the buildings that Climatizer provide. You can see them hugging this rock on the outside because they're going to be able to see a lot of these teams in their line of sight, maybe steal some of these kills away. Even saw that rat hiding behind the caustic traps earlier today, but let's see if that's going to be enough cover as Team Splash have been in non-stop action throughout this entire first game.
They're simply never quit, and right now with the small cover of the caustic barrel, it's about making a slow but steady push. You can't walk outside because Vizio will hit you. You can't stay inside because Splash are going to chew through you. All red Evos, the Mastiff fully loaded up, and the Dome forced. Phoenix needs to take a reset though, and as Blight slides in, he's going to be able to take down 1 and 2. Splash, with just 1 member remaining, end up finding yet another full squad wipe inside of this next ring, and with nobody pushing up on them.
Alright, we see you schmoovin', Splash. We see you schmoovin'. You could see the wall jump to help reset there too, help move around, but Excedrin's in trouble, and they're playing out of the low ground too. Forced to use this dome, it's not going to last forever. Nobody's trying to contest them on that low ground too, but the moment that dome goes down, they're going to be in the line of sight of Vizio, who's actually on the hilltop right over by the other side of Climatizer.
I mean, Excedrin better have Portal, that's all I'm saying, because this is looking like a very, very difficult situation for them to get out of otherwise. Perhaps moving a little bit forward towards Vizio, who are trying to control this low ground area as well. Nice drop down from Scissors. Will it cost him his life, however? He does get cracked and fully sent back up towards the high ground at under 30% health. Right next door, there are plenty that would like to capitalize on Vizio's current weaknesses, but everybody's just a little bit too afraid to send it on over to this rock that they have little data on.
And now with the black market there too, they could go in for some quick shield swaps if they leave that slot open for Vizio. So this is going to be a great utilization over the Loba being part of their team. Although they are running this composition, they do not have the caustic, and in this open space, they don't really have to worry about it. But a redeploy coming out of the skies is very risky in this portion of the game. But Vizio has their eyes on them to make sure that they're not going to get contested. But they're actually getting split up a little bit actually on landing here. See Team Nerf now trying to get into position to contest.
And it seems like Splash just a little bit too antsy on the rotation, get split up and are going to be taken down to just the 2 members right now, trying to land in a space that just was not a welcome environment. Blight goes down and Splash are out just like that. You are always 1 Valkyrie ult away from going down, and you are 1 full send away from Excedrin away from going down as well. Excedrin should know that it's Vizio on this hilltop, but they haven't taken that much damage yet as the nades come in onto Cruz. He's going to jump forward, having lost Kimchi before he exits the void. It is he and enemy against Vizio. They find actually 2 knocks here, and a 3rd onto Scissors would put them in the lead. They managed to do it just barely, and Cruz saves his squad, putting Excedrin in the best place in the lobby.
The Dialor is coming alive right now. I'm seeing it happening right in front of me. Excedrin coming on top right now. 4 squads left. You see Nerf in a tricky spot themselves. DB is one shot. How is he dancing around? He finally gets taken out. But was that Splash all the way on the other side to secure that KP? It is. And they don't have Blight in the process too. They saw the situation, and every KP here is important for a team like Splash.
How are Splash alive at this point? And they're pushing up as well. They may just go down. And Messiah needs to play for placement right now. There's only 2 squads left as he ends up going down. And the 3-man of Running Late now going up against Excedrin, who are firing in from a million miles away, doing so much damage with that defensive bombardment and finding flesh as well. Kimchi is going to take his time, waiting for the rest of the squad to push up here, but make no mistake, with the area that Excedrin control around this RV, Running Late should be putting the meat grinder in no time. Can Running Late turn it around, or will Excedrin actually complete the prophecy and take our first game?
It's about the power here that Team Excedrin have going into this week. I love the back pedal right here from Cruisin' too. He wants to just get right back to the rock, have some of that suppressed fire from the rest of his squad here. Trust that into Kimchi, who is that great IGL here for the rest of the squad. They're playing this very patiently. You can see here as they're just hugging the edge of the circle, the final round closing in 1 minute and 40 seconds. They have all the time in the world, but they have no reason to overextend into that drop.
Oh my lord, Dome going down though. That is very, very scary to see, as if you're hoping for Running Late. They're trying to get just a little bit of loot outside, but they end up losing double O negative in the process. Full sending with the PK now. You know Excedrin were ready, and it is going to be their game 1 to take. The prophecy is coming true, and Excedrin week is off in full force.
What a way to start off the week here, too. That's the power of the home week coming through for Team Excedrin. And what a showcase here from some of our squads like Team Splash and Excedrin, of course, winning that first game.
What a game! What a game, Vicky! How we couldn't have written it better. From the absolute decimation that Splash brought with them, to the amazing positioning that we had from Vizio, to the push from Excedrin, it couldn't have been scripted better. And if this is just game 1, we have got an amazing day ahead of us. It's just our first one out of 5, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with game 2.
Verses coming daily under pressure. Working on the plot and the scheme. The true side trademark is at the edge of your dreams. I'm talking. Yeah. One shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. Put the balls in the breaks. I'm talking one chance at the soul, go for the goal. It's one shot, now the future is yours. Let's go.
No better way to kick off Excedrin week than a win by Team Excedrin. They take out Team Running Late. They're in that final circle and grab the victory. Hell of a way to start off open night for a squad. Again, trying to close that gap and chase down Team Vizio. So well played from them. Let's see who our first player of the game is for tonight's competition here. And we'll have to see if Excedrin can keep things rolling as the night continues. If you may have noticed, we are, in fact, going to only play 5 games tonight. Of course, with the delay, we try to keep to a very strict schedule here, make sure we aren't keeping the players extra long, keep things running smooth and quick, so it will only be 5 games of competition tonight. So every game matters that much more if you're trying to chase down first place here. But we'll pull up that player of the game for you all at home and check out who we got here. It's going to go to Cruisin'. This time around, 3 kills and an assist, and just short of 1,200 damage in that one. Of course, a staple here for Team Excedrin, and they will continue to try and build on the successes they have had in the early season. It's very interesting to not see a Vizio win, because one of the things that has been very common alongside their finishes in first place on open nights has been winning opening games. They start very, very strong, so quite a statement here for Excedrin to take the win in game number 1, and of course with there only being 5 games and those games being all that much more important, grabbing those points is incredibly key to Excedrin trying to unseat Team Vizio. Do want to remind you folks, of course, if you're trying to pick up some Excedrin product and say game over to headaches, you can over at walmart.com/esports. Make sure to head over there today and you can pick up products from all of our partners. We are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, Dia and Vicky Kitty will check out the Mobile One leaderboard and get you ready for game 2.
My name is Kim Chi-Lee.
My name is Cruisin'.
My name is Enemy.
Boom! Excedrin, congratulations, Team Tonka.
And I play Apex Legends.
And I play Apex Legends for Team Excedrin.
For Team Excedrin, and you're watching Excedrin Week. Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Enemy taking the con is at that. They're stuck on the moment.
Let's go!
Slow ring closing in. It's going to be the full set, and it is Team Excedrin on the other side of this one. Kim Chi-Lee receiving a
rotate out towards that building. But it looks like Kim is
between Excedrin and Jewelers, and Excedrin's, this is not a fight you want to lose right now. You need these points. Thankfully, Cruisin', sitting with a purple shield to boot, definitely has all the makings to find success here. The series.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Eat, Speak, Compete.
Eat, Speak, Compete.
Yes. What have you been playing this week?
More of all these guys. Somebody say another booster box.
Yeah, right?
I'm not excited for the release of New Worlds.
But when you look at the Hallmark titles of the last decade, it feels like they're finally ready.
They finished strong. Like 35-2.
And I just typed dance ? And put maybe Kyle, if you're watching, put like a red alarm or whatever in my hand right here. Pause and go watch it, or you can just skip the rest of it. We're gonna talk about it. Final spoiler warning. Luke.
Oh yeah.
The little web slinger.
Like it's like I literally feel like it's a guaranteed flop.
Follow us on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, or if you want to see our gorgeous faces, we're over on YouTube. Just search Esports Arena.
Dang. That's super fun sounding.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go.
That sounds super fun. I think that's like the
Welcome back to the casting desk, folks, and wow, oh wow, Vicky, I am still reeling from it. Game 1 was a absolutely crazy one, and the big question, of course, is, well, whether this can be kept up, but the bigger question is how many points were racked up that game, because that is the thing that will set the precedent for every game to come, all 5 of them today. So without any further ado, let's take a look at that Mobile One leaderboard.
Yeah, with the way that Team Excedrin played that, you can see Team Splash, though, in the #1 spot with 26 points. And that's because since the very beginning that we were looking over at Team Splash, Dia, they were popping off from the moment they landed. They tried to contest Climatizer, so they secured so much KP that even though Team Excedrin, they did take that victory with a lot of KP themselves, they're still right behind Team Splash. And already that gap between first and second place here is already being bridged up.
Yeah, it is actually pretty large. I'm looking at this right now and thinking, okay, well, you know, a Splash, of course, did incredibly, and I wonder whether they'll be able to continue that. Of course, Northern Zone's likely not going to be our flavor for today entirely, so as things shift up, I want to see how they play zones outside of Climatizer, because specifically in these small buildings, they were looking so good. Nerf as well, in their sort of pseudo-Climatizer, we're looking great. But who was looking the best? That's something that only the Mobile One high-performance moment can tell us.
Oh, the wingman shots. We were just talking about this too, Dia. Excedrin was on another level here. You can see Cruisin'. I love the timing here and for the phase. It was really on cue before that arc star was able to blow up. And then to have another body right there to put yourself in between yourself and the other squad. The moment that Cruisin' came in and they took that shot and they knew that Cruisin' was up and healthy with that red Evo shield, look how defensive Team Vizio was forced to essentially play off in the back right here. With Team Excedrin coming out on top, they knew that they had all the time in the world to reset there behind that rock.
That's a Mozam, by the way. That's a Mozambique in the hands of Cruisin'. This guy, absolute legend. He does not want to let you have any fun, and it really showed. This guy, for somebody who Excedrin themselves have identified as their hype man, as their go-getter, really managed to live up to that title this game, clutching it out here, and like you talked about, with that Wraith reposition, being able to use it in the end game as well to constantly keep the enemy team on their toes. Excedrin, of course, starting off really well, have ground to cover to make it up to that first place, but this play leaves absolutely no doubt in my mind that they can do it, especially if Cruz can continue performing like this.
Especially with the secondary gun being the Mozambique, just being able to note that right here, you could imagine how the hype man was probably going crazy in those comms. But let's see if Team Excedrin could keep this momentum up, because that was only game 1 out of the 5 that we're going to have tonight.
Now that we're popping into game 2, things are going to change, and not just in terms of the teams and where they drop, which will of course be taking a shift up, especially after Nerf dominated Lava Siphon just last game, but the ring as well. Keep in mind that that is, of course, one of the most important things about Apex Legends that draws every team into its very center. Likely going to be going, again, elsewhere other than Climatizer, and perhaps Excedrin will get the chance to be involved a little bit earlier on, because remember that in the first 2-3 zones, they really didn't see anybody.
Oh man, and you know, now looking at where this circle is going to pull, look at the amount of teams that are already contesting Countdown here. From Countdown to Landslide to Lava Fisher, there's a lot of teams already in that next circle pool, so I'm expecting a lot of the fighting to happen, leaving Fragment in that northern part of the map too, looking at the squad that landed by Skyhook, so this is going to get chaotic pretty quickly.
It really is. Countdown as well, very much home to close range fighting, which is really exciting to see, but crucially, where Team Vizio like to land over by Landslide is where that can get a little bit shifted, I'll say. In your journey over towards Countdown, there is the chance for you to take some long-range battles, to have those sniper rifles out. But once you get in towards Countdown, in towards Lava Fisher, it is shotguns all the way.
Oh yeah, actually just in the ALGS qualifiers last weekend, we saw how important it was for a lot of these squads that are running the Valk to prioritize having a space in those buildings in Countdown, or else you're going to be forced to play off that low ground in that final circle, where a lot of these teams, they do not want to be situated in. Since you have teams like Excedrin actually, with only the portal to reposition, it could be a little tricky as time goes on, but we have Team Excedrin now making their way over from Thermal all the way up to Countdown, so they're going to be running into squads in that choke point leading staging.
One of the nice things is that with Splash being right above them, Splash will actually technically be earlier to the action, since the zone is pulling up a little bit further north, and have the chance to steal away that KP from other squads that might otherwise gather it, and likely put themselves in another leading position, again, if they can play their cards right. As Splash wait a little bit longer over by staging, it seems like they want to make sure they're in the best position to take these fights, both ammunition and shield-wise, before opting into them, but it will come at the cost, potentially, of positioning later on. They've got an advantage, and they're using it instead to gather resources.
Yeah, you can see actually off the rip, the fact that they are working off of 2 Evo shields, make it 3 very soon here for Blight, wondering here if, yeah, no, actually it's just the Bolt, so he's just going to stick to the blue Evo shield, where the squad is just prioritizing that loot, like you were saying, Dia. And Team Vizio, actually, we were talking about some of the action already going down in Countdown, already contested by 3 to 4 squads. Looks like Vizio actually has their eyes over on the other side of the lot, maybe seeing that there is no beacon, actually, so they won't be contested as early as they were probably expecting.
They're opting in for a little bit of that mid-range as well. The triple take is a very strange weapon that, while very effective at typical marksman ranges, also packs a surprising punch in melee. So Vizio have put themselves in a position where I'd kind of like to see them hold this southern end of Lava Fissure that they're already at, because they can control the area between a landslide and thermal springs and Lava Fissure so well with that triple, as well as be able to transition into a close range fight once it eventually pulls up towards Countdown as well as Lava Fissure. We'll see, of course, where that zone ends up taking us in the grand scheme of things. But for right now, Vizio have got a very happy place to be. We're down to 19 squads really quickly, I will say, but with plenty of time left for everybody to run through the open area, I'm not expecting too much action for the next minute or so.
Yeah, it was just Vizio that actually took out a squad quite quickly here, as I actually had missed it in the feed earlier, but they were able to claim Lava Fissure. They claimed that early KP, and talking about some KP, the early fighting has begun here for Team Frenzy on the low ground of Trials. Now, I'm wondering if they just don't have the information for that next beacon, because this is where a lot of the northern action could happen, depending on the noise that's being made away from Skyhook, as the circle is going to be pulling towards Countdown. Those northern squads won't be as contested as teams like Team Splash, who are actually making the redeploy move to reposition on top of this building, right next to Vizio.
It is actually really crazy they put themselves in the center right now as well. Bow check in hand. Let's go, Blight. I am, as I was expressing to you in the break, a little bit of a bow check fiend myself, so I'm glad to see this picked up. It was actually surprisingly popular last game as well. But being in the center, in between Vizio and the squads that we know are approaching from the north, Splash don't have a whole lot of mobility in the next couple of minutes. Unless they want to use that Valkyrie redeploy, which even then could be risky, they're going to be stuck inside this ring and really waiting for fights to start breaking out around them to collect anything more than placement points.
What is going on in the world of hard-stuck D-Force here? Cades goes down again, so we have not been able to see Cades reunited rather with the rest of the squad. It's Team Frenzy that are hanging out on the inside, but we know that on the other side of this building, close to the Lava Fissure, there's 2 other squads, so that's going to get whiff of this fight happening right now.
Oh my god, Carvin gets pushed right back out by a frag grenade as well, but Team Frenzy already losing one. May have been regretting this push now. Hardstuck D-Force even in a 2v3, get assistance from the rest of the lobby shooting to help them out. Now have managed to try of picking themselves up 3 KP, perhaps a little bit less, since one at least should have gone over to someone else.
And crazy how Hearts D4 just play that so patiently too. Despite losing out on their third early on in this game, they're able to try and get some of that early loot and now focus on positioning. But because they don't have their caustic, they can't really stay in this building for long. They have really nothing defending this building to avoid a lot of these early close fight encounters.
Plan-like demotions do not exist. I love that they actually took the fight as well, didn't try to run. They went, you know what, worst thing, we're still D4, so let's just keep doing it. We've all had those games, and for them, it seems to be working out right now. We'll see if they can grab a few more positive points in the next little while. Stick Drift OP making their way in late right now towards the ring, have put themselves in a bit of a risky spot. We know there are a lot of squads that are coming from the south, and we haven't actually seen Excedrin traverse this territory yet. So it's possible that Stick Drift OP can put themselves between Vizio and Excedrin and in one of the most difficult spots in the lobby. For right now, though, that low ground in Lava Fissure seems to be their target. It's a risky spot to hold and will surely take its toll on your shields, but it is in ring, so hey, it's not the worst thing, right?
Oh, absolutely, especially since this is one of those rotation spots that squads like TDG actually have prioritized. And talk about Excedrin now making their way over to the action. They're traversing through this railroad to find this squad that has been looting off to the side. I wonder if it's still Splash, who have kind of been left behind when they were opting to use the replicator, but they've been able to get back onto the high ground, utilizing that zipline. And very interesting to see Excedrin actually playing this very passive-aggressively. They're recognizing the situation, so they're just going to back up here and prioritize their rotation, so that way they're not got caught off right in the middle of that rotation with another squad.
Really intelligently as well, holding on to that high ground, knowing that they didn't really get any deadly damage yet, and now they get to reap the fruits of that labor, seeing that just right next door, they actually had a squad coming in from that very same high ground. Now, holding up in Dorito building, Excedrin really don't have anything to worry about, and instead can try and Uno reverse card any engages that would come through, knowing, of course, that their backs are safe, that nobody else should be approaching from their south.
And this is the approach you usually have to take when it comes to the lack of Valkyrie. Because you want to try to prioritize positioning for that late game because you don't have the redeploy, you now are forced in a position where you only have the portal to rely on for that ability. Because of the fact that you're sandwiched between two of these squads, they have to utilize that portal very extensively. So now you get to look at Fluid Gaming, who are traversing through the north side of the map. They're trying to make their way away from Skyhook, but they see that there was a fight happening over at Trials. They see that there's a fight potentially happening over at Countdown for control over those buildings. So they're going to be caught in the middle if they don't get moving soon, because now a lot of these squads are currently utilizing this redeploy so that way they can get positioning over at Countdown.
Yeah, for Fluid, it is really trying to pick off people as they rotate in for now, but it seems like, oh lord, they found flesh. Hold on, no knock. Okay, we had to wait. We had to see if it would happen. And hey, as the kill feed lights up, it may very well have resulted in kills anyway, though Fluid did not get the chance to pick them up. That is at least one more squad out. We're down to 17, and like we said, Valkyrie redeploys can be extremely deadly.
Especially in this part of the game right now. You know, a lot of these squads have that priority over controlling these buildings, especially with the caustic composition. Vizio, though, they're not the ones that turned from that composition. They've been running the Loba this entire time, and they have this squad on the tracks. They get to portal out to safety, though, and with that dome, they've utilized now two of those abilities, and TBA, so many fights happening already on the other side of the map right now, Dia. They can manage to try to get that crack, but Stomp's in trouble himself.
Nicely done, though, Stomps. Able to pull it out just in the nick of time. That's the confidence that TBA can have with one of the most veteran rosters that we're seeing from one of the teams joining us on the a little bit more of an Eastern rotation, which I gotta say I like because it provides them a lot more cover in the long run.
Yeah, remember, we're also noting how a lot of these squads may try to rotate from north, but they're landing right on top of the duo that we had seen earlier. Hardstuck, D4, they had lost their third early on too, so they don't have a Caustic to prevent some of this defense, but they weren't expecting it. ABW's in trouble, they lose one of their own, so now it's a forcibly 2v2 with one of the shields still fully healed up for that other team, so ABW now on even grounding, but these Caustic traps are just going to be able to control so much space for them.
We've got an excellent opportunity here to get the res off, though, with ABW pushing in as 3. They had that extra life, if you will. Now being third-partied, however, this has definitely bitten them. ABW taking their time to try and reset. Now pushing before anybody else has the chance to. It's Vizio that have come in for the third party, and no surprise to any of us, they're going to take ABW with them, third-partying this, and now getting third-partied themselves. Already having lost Scissors, it's Fluid that are trying to capitalize on this. Will they be able to take down Vizio, or will they die in the attempt? Vizio finally end up eating it in the hands of the R301, and another party, a fifth party, comes in, and Fluid Gaming are just barely, it seems, able to ward them off.
Oh, it's a party. Everyone wants an invite to the party out here, Dia. That was like 4 squads that just stormed into that building off of that one opportunity. Meanwhile, Heartstuck D4, they were sitting in that building comfy. They were just writing a book here, sitting in the corner, very able to just take their time here, but this is the power of the redeploys now. It's forcing out a lot of these teams out of that late circle positioning, and it puts in so much pressure when you are running a defensive character that could control these buildings, like the Caustic.
Yeah, it is really surprising actually to see that even now we are getting, I would say, a lack of confidence when it comes to playing around the Valkyrie redeploy as well, because as soon as you hear those trails above your head, you have got to pop back out to make sure that you're well defended. Dino Nuggies defending themselves quite well inside of Thermal Springs. Have 2 members to juggle this Gibraltar and should be able to make short work of them. They win the fight down here, and let's see if their redeploy costs them as much as we've already seen other teams today.
Hopefully with this extra loot, it won't here, especially seeing how a lot of our duos, yeah, right? Especially since we've been seeing a lot of our duos pop off within this game number 2. It's so important since already that gap has been established by Team Splash. So with Excedrin still up in the running right now, they're just repositioning. And I love this gameplay from them too. We've been noticing that this is a squad that has prioritized their positioning more than anything. And knowing when to disengage is just part of the battle.
Yeah, this is a really big thing for them, playing down from the south. Having a defensive bombardment on top of them, though, is going to make this shot calling all the more difficult. Perhaps having to return to this blue train car is currently, they are just hemorrhaging medication, and it is TBA, no surprise, that are pushing in on them to try and finish Excedrin off. Vizio has already fallen, but it seems like Enemy has managed to claim a kill in the meantime as Kimchi and Cruzen back off. Shields still around. Cruzen has actually managed to stabilize the squad for now, and TBA, they have to push back.
I'm wondering here, it looks like somebody else is also taking a chunk out of them with a charge rifle from afar. That may just be the third party here, not even the initial squad that they're facing off against. Now with Kimchi Lee going down, there's another squad now coming up from their rear too. This is the risk that you run in the middle of these rotations if you find yourself in a fight. They're just playing Skyrim Go hopping off by the side of the mountain here. They're just trying their best to survive without being in the line of sight of these two squads that are taking these shots.
The rest is coming in though, and with Kimchi being back up, you'll have that dome available as well. Excedrin literally on the rocks right now. We're having such a difficult time, but the dome comes in time, or has it? Kimchi getting full sent on by 00 negative. This is a little bit of revenge for last game, and now Kimchi on the low ground. Again, no defense for Excedrin. Now fully thirsted. It's gonna have to be the disengage, and Cruzen down. Enemy has to survive on his own.
Enemy recognized the situation too from down on the low ground. The moment that they were split up between Kimchi and Cruzen tried their best to give the suppressed fire, but there was still another squad right across the field from Enemy that did have that charge rifle that was putting in that pressure. So Enemy is now forced to play this as a rat as he moves into a lot of these squads that are already situated over at Countdown.
This is round 3. Round 3 hurts a lot. You can only make it 100 meters in this ring, and Enemy is playing with fire, a heck of a lot of heat, as TBA down a member now turn their eyes onto running late. The second place squad from last game. We'll see if they're able to survive this without Sung, the caustic, that all-important defensive tool that you and I have been talking about all day.
Yeah, and without a building here and without the Cossack, so now they're just going to be forced to play out in this open field. You see some shots being taken by Stumps, but they're holding on to this corner, and they feel secure here as their backs are against the edge of the circle. So now a lot of our circle edge fighting teams are going to be able to be aware, but they're just going to redeploy out of here. We talk about the risk, though, of the redeploy deal. Let's see where they can safely land without getting contested off the rip.
Well, it isn't Lava Fisher, because we look over there, and there are a bunch of teams ready to absorb this redeploy. Shots still going off in the open, as it seems like running late have actually made their way in towards the center as well after finding some kills in the southern end of Lava Fisher. Somehow they've finagled their way into the center. However, it seems like they're in a little bit of a kerfuffle as well with Fluid Gaming down here on the low ground, and surprise, surprise, Nezuko gets run up on, but still survives for almost long enough. 00 negative able to res Lightstar Joe, and now running late are in contention to actually be the best squad for this second game. They've already got the 4 kills. We know they can make it to the end game circles from last game. Now it's just up to them to perform to the level that they've already established they can.
I mean, it's all about that consistency out here. This is a squad that got second place in the first game. They may have not secured all the KP that they wanted, but they still were able to secure a good amount here. Now, Stick Drift OP, they see the redeploy right behind that crate, but do they want to stay in this spot? They're on the low ground. There's a crate right in front of them, wondering which power weapon were they able to secure, but there's a squad right on top of that, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a rat cam soon. I did see the Tomcat graphic come up. They have the alternator, so that is the weapon that they were able to pull from that care package.
Yeah, Enemy, unfortunately for him, got swiped, and Stick Drift OP, capitalizing on that momentum inside of the lobby, are going to try and make it through more than just our top 9 squads, make it even further with Splash up here on the high ground. They're another squad that we've got to look out for, because though they did not place in the top 2 last game, overall, they accumulated a lot of points, and they are just getting more as Messiah casually swoops over, grabs the knock onto 00 negative, and resumes the safe positioning of Splash, not exposing them to risk at all, but just gathering points.
Got a swipe or no swipe, that kill right underneath the table from that squad. And now with this Cosmic ult here, trying to control some space, see Blight unfazed, he's just going to be able to just run right past it, try to secure some space right off to their left on these train tracks. So important to hold this position on the high ground, but Splash knows that there is a squad right underneath them that could contest them and essentially pinch them.
I love that Messiah is continuing to keep tabs on them as well, because like we know, being run up on when you're already taking an engage as well is the worst thing. With Blight and he holding down opposite ends, it's really nice. This Valkyrie is going to be able to keep tabs. However, it is important as well that Splash keep in mind the final ring that is going to be coming for us soon. And we up here on the casting desk don't actually get the opportunity to know the very same data that these teams do. So as we get to watch every team reposition radically, it seems like Splash, very confident, may just have the ring pulling to them.
And that's the best part too. It's very refreshing to see how the approach for a lot of these new teams go about our sponsored teams here. And Splash has just been on another run for the day with all the KP that they secured between the first game, and they're looking to repeat it here. Premier now are actually changing up their positioning, but they're not only playing off of the low ground here, there's two squads with their line of sight directly on Premier, and now the circle's right behind them. They only have 20 seconds to move in from the low ground, and they're going to be in the line of sight of 3 squads up ahead.
And this is the story of how Premier GG got full sent on by Stick Drift OP. We know that these guys are waiting up on the high ground, and with absolutely no reposition now, Premier GG have to push or die, and maybe even both. We've got to hope that they have that Ash reposition available to them, because they're one unique cooldown that may just be able to get them out of this situation. As Touch Grass push up on Splash right now. There's also the potential for second and third parties to come in on this height. The Touch Grass are playing this so silently, not wanting to be the first ones to engage.
I hear you dropping those bars. Yeah, I see Splash right now trying to go up on the flank here of Touch Grass, and you can see another squad actually securing that high ground on the rooftop of that building too. So great rock to play off of from Splash, so they won't be in their line of sight. But look at this, double dome has been used up, 2 bombardments have been called in, and the circle is closing up right behind them. This is circle 5-2, mind you, so this is absolutely gonna hurt with Rowdy going down at the same time. You can see currently with Splash having this high ground that they're not worried over their backs.
And out pop Stick Drift OP on the low ground as well to take away a few kills. The TBA actually down there as well. Premier fall to 2 separate squads at the same time, but Splash maintain their kingdom on the high ground. They are our kings of the hill, and up here uncontested with I believe 3 squads on the low ground. Splash are having the time of their lives. This should be their win.
What a way for them to time that so that way they could be the only squad on this high ground to push in for that fight. And also just the fighting happening by the edge of the circle right here. Running late is not going to be running anymore with Kuzme going down here. But that was a risky play. They push it forward and they lose one of their members just as quickly now as Stick Drift OP trying to get EXO back in the fight.
Messiah goes down though. He takes a risky position in between 2 different squads, and now Splash are down a member. If they can recover on the high ground, they can third party the fight in between TBA and Stick Drift on the low. But it's going to take crucial time that TBA are absolutely not wasting. Splash seem to have recovered up on the height, but Messiah, playing things patiently, is waiting for these squads to be forced together. 3 teams remain. Nobody has access to the height just yet, and Splash gets to continue raining fire down from above. Knock comes in onto Good Try, and the Arc Star actually could kill them if it would just go through the wall.
Oh, if it could kind of skate by that rocket, at least the thermite lands here, but Messiah has just been on another level. He gets the knock with the thermite. He's looking for another one. What did Messiah eat today? I just need to know, because these wingman shots be hidden.
Finally having some time to reload the flatline. This guy has not gotten a single break and is returning to the hill that cost him his life earlier. Let's see if it works out. This time is from behind the gas canister. He's at least got a little more cover. He makes it back just barely one more time. And these are the edges that Splash are pushing themselves to collect every single kill inside these games, to perform the absolute best that they can, as they wait for what I'm only presuming to be yet another fight, with the ring starting to close in. They've got central position, they've got height on everybody. The biggest thing they have to worry about is Stick Drift OP on the low ground, because depending on where the ring pulls, it may be them that Splash are forced to fight first.
I'm also worried about these bombardments too, but with Messiah being on this Valken, just being able to utilize the movement to get on that rock, get right back, there's no overextension from our big boys here on Team Splash. Looking at Blight and Phoenix, they have the dome, they have the Nox grenade too, so they have a lot of futility now. As the circle draws closer, they're going to still be on the high ground, but the moment they drop down, they have to be careful with Exo right below them.
And everybody's focusing TBA, who are forced up onto the high ground right now with both domes down on the low. It is really up to Splash as to how they want to approach this, waiting for the domes to expire for as long as they can. They throw in that Nox gas grenade and actually get the bubble on the height, not giving them nearly as much safety as they would like. Both Valkyries flying for as long as they possibly can, but on the low ground, it is Splash that are coming out on top. And as Messiah comes back down, this three-way gunfight turns into a meat grinder that sends Splash to a victory in Game 2.
What am I even seeing right now? The skies were congested too. What a way to take game number 2. But Splash, let's not forget, this is the squad that popped off game number 1 with their KP. They may not have won, but now taking the victory in game number 2 is going to extend that overall leaderboard for them and make that gap even harder to bridge it together.
Yeah, you and I were both talking about how just having one big game can put you out far enough ahead from the rest of these squads. Well, Splash have had 2 back-to-back, and it is a killer start for them in a day that is really only going to be 5 games, so even less chances for anyone else to accumulate points. Game 3 on the horizon. We'll see if they can keep it up after we return from a short break.
I'm fading!
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Well, Game 1 was all about Excedrin from the standpoint of grabbing a victory. Splash still showed up strong and stole first place on the Mobile One leaderboard, and they have now followed that up with a win in Game 2. A big showing from the team, and with Messiah leading the way, they continue to look good here tonight. We'll have to see how much they can build on their lead at the top of the Mobile One leaderboard. But first, let's check out our next player of the game here for tonight, and it's going to go to Blight this time around. 5 kills and 4 assists here, and look at that damage, over 2,400 damage there in Game 2. Obviously, Splash doing a great job. They get the high ground. The zone blessed them very, very much. in the late circle, and they came out very strong. Also got really loved watching Messiah just Valk jetpacking up with another player there at the end. But Splash looking really strong here, and I mentioned at the top of the show, while they are at the bottom of that leaderboard, the margin is not large, and they've certainly cut quite a bit of it out with that play. So we are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, let's see if Splash can keep it rolling. We'll go back to Dia and Vicky here in a minute.
Hey, my name is Kimchi Lee.
My name is Cruisin.
My name is Enemy.
Boom! Excedrin, congratulations, Team Tonka.
And I play Apex Legends.
And I play Apex Legends for Team Excedrin.
For Team Excedrin, and you're watching Excedrin Week. Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Enemy taking the content at that. They're stuck on the low.
Let's go!
Slow ring closing in. It's going to be the full set, and it is Team Excedrin on the other side of this one. Kimchi Lee receiving.
Rotate out towards that building. But it looks like Kimchi's
Between Excedrin and Jewelers and Excedrins, this is not a fight you want to lose right now. You need these points. Thankfully, Cruisin, sitting with a purple shield to boot, definitely has all the makings to find success here. The Seer.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. Game 2 now done and dusted, and Splash looking so comfortable in it, Vicky. It was an amazing performance from them off the back of what was already an incredible Game 1, and we know what we're concerned with. It's points. Let's take a look at that Mobile 1 leaderboard to see where we are going to. This is to the moon for Splash.
Sheesh. This is, I mean, hydration is important here, Dia, but you gotta share some of this H2O with everybody else here. Team Splash has secured so much KP in these lobbies that nobody else is left in the watering hole to drink from.
This is crazy. It's, yeah, like you say, it's not just important, it's overpowered right now. 50 points is crazy, and it's honestly the start of what could be a 100+ point day if they keep this up, and that's with one game taken off. Normally the 6 games here is already making 100 points impressive, but with Team Splash, they could do it in just 4 games as this pace continues. Let's take a look at that Mobile 1 high performance moment, though, because we were spoiled for choice.
Oh man, this was absolutely insane. You and I were having fun talking about this during the break here. Can you imagine she could just drift and just shoot at the same time? I mean, essentially with Messiah, him dropping here, he did just that. Landing at the perfect time here, kind of skating by all the other Valkyries who are also floating around. But this chaos at the very end, the skies were congested. That's 3 Valks trying to stall out above the final zone.
It looked really funny there at the end, but it was so well built up to as well. All 3 of those squads playing with incredible patience moving into the final ring, and honestly, it felt like an eternity that we were playing around this bridge, the low ground, underneath the bridge in this small little tunnel. Everybody was holding on for dear life, and no one squad made a massive misstep. It was Splash that ultimately controlled things, but Stick Drift, OP, and TBA both very much impressed that game.
And I think we should highlight the confidence that we're also seeing from Team Splash. We need to highlight the way that Messiah is playing here. He's just on another level with those wingman shots. I know you had a bit of a heart attack looking at the way that he was juggling between the rock and the pressure with the caustic barrels, but it was just so impressive to see that Splash is feeling this confident here tonight. Going on to the 3rd game, though, can they maintain that energy? They don't want to make a mistake that could potentially cost them this gigantic lead that they've built up.
Yeah, it has been the big question, right? Who can take down Vizio? It was the question going into today, and with both Excedrin and Vizio, the 2 that were really looking like they were going to be in contention for that top spot, now falling way far behind to Splash, both of them going out quite early in that game. I think that question is only fair to be raised again, because Splash are looking like they are going to leave absolutely no room for contest, dropping into World's Edge for our 3rd game of the day. Let's see if they can change that up, or whether Splash will continue their rampage.
Well, these northern circles have definitely helped out some of our squads here, although that circle did pull mostly all the way up to the west side. I'm wondering here how some of these squads could adjust to those 2 northern circles that we've had thus far. But if you were to ask me if Team Splash was on my radar this week, their performance hasn't really been up to par with teams like Team Vizio, of course, that have won every single week. You have Team Excedrin that's been getting 2nd consistently, as well as getting so much KP. But Team Splash, again, don't know what they ate for breakfast this morning, but I definitely want want some of that whenever I'm playing my ranked games.
Yeah, I mean, to contextualize this with data, I think that first-time listeners may not know exactly how true what you're saying is, Vicky, because just to sort of put it in perspective, last game alone, Blight has done more than half of the damage than he did in all of last week. That's how crazy it is to see it going down like it is right now. And, well, things are going pretty crazy over here as well. It does bear mentioning that we've got some early fighting going down, and Stick Drift OP, one of our finalists from last game, are the ones coming out on top of it, at least initially, picking up the first kill onto Stomps.
It's all about getting that beacon control out here, and that's why a lot of these 50-50 sometimes happen over at No Name. You can see Exo actually taking some of that pressure. I like the position that we're also seeing from Flinzar. He's got the blue Evo shield, so he's got to put himself in between himself as well as Exo, as you can see the other squad mates now rolling in, but they're playing as a duo here, as Stick Drift OP did win it in that initial fight.
I like that Stick Drift choose not to continue this, however, taking that early KP and moving themselves over, knowing that the loot isn't quite in a place where they can guarantee a victory, and not really knowing what the shield checks are on the squad right in front of them will take the safer way out. One of the problems they could encounter, however, is that Geyser is also a POI that people will tend to land at. We don't have data on whether anybody has joined them in this POI for this particular game, so Stick Drift OP may very well be running out of the frying pan into the fire.
Gotta see here, especially looking at Flinzar. Although he's got the blue Evo shield, he's repping the RE and the Mozambique. And even though we saw Team Excedrin pop off earlier with that Mozambique, they did have that wingman to secure some of those kills. So Flinzar does want to get a better loadout going on for himself. And immediately he picks up the R301, so looking great already in comparison to the RE he was carrying around. But looks like nobody to contest him over at Geyser, surprisingly, yeah. So this is a great look for Stick Drift OP as they make their way, cleaning up these buildings before deciding where the circle is going to be pulling, because we haven't seen so ourselves.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it is really wild that Noble aren't in this lobby anymore, because they would 100% be sitting over in Geyser ready. But for right now, it seems like the journey of this game has taken us a little bit further over, back towards our historical place of fighting in Lava Fisher. We got two squads going head-to-head. Will we get a repeat almost of the Game 1 circle?
Oh, this is going to be interesting, except it may not pull as north as we were expecting it last time now, predicting that the circle actually may be pulling over to that eastern building that's outside of Epi, but we'll have to see here as some of these squads already situate themselves into that next circle. So much of the fighting happening over at that old circle that we had just last game, closer to Lava Fisher here, like you were just saying, Team Razor, with the shield advantage, they're already pushing into this building, but they're traversing through that open ground.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the ring right now, and open ground really is the enemy. You want to be prioritizing RVs as much as you can, because there is so much open space, and we talked about how Lava Fisher can get pretty close range. This time, longer range may be your friend, and sniper rifles I'm expecting to see a whole lot more of, with Razor taking a relatively mid-range fight, however, not quite pushing up yet. They're playing this one slow, and it will be scouted the amount of shields that they have and who has what for right now. Nobody feeling too confident just yet, except for, of course, running late in the side of Lava City, who are looking pretty darn confident.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised here because they're going to have to traverse through so much ground to just get to that next circle. But in this fight already, they're looking great with those armors. They also managed to loot Big Mod. Look at this crack already coming in with the flatline. Fails on getting that knock, but you can see, oh, I actually think that was a misclick right there. He wanted to use that bracelet, maybe to just get closer. Is going to use it anyways, but that could be enough time to help restabilize. You see double O negative in the line of sight of the opposing team. He's taking so much pressure, but he doesn't win the trade. Just waited too long after using that bracelet to teleport right into the line of sight of Boney Tony.
It was the biggest bait of the century. The Flesh Gibraltar, they got his shields back to white, now has managed to outlast and outplay with double O negative down. Running late are now the ones whose confidence must have suffered and are being pushed on even, so they may just have to leave, leaving double O negative, especially as Lightstar Joe does get chunked out. You don't want to walk up to this guy too quickly, though. On the controller, he can and will fry you, but running late are really taking a big risk by sticking around, and even with their teammate crawling off to safety, it's unlikely they'll recover him.
Yeah, especially running late, running low on that ammo. Look at Kuzme in this car right now. He's only got 24 heavy ammo left in the chamber right now to actually keep putting on some pressure. So, just as you were saying, Dia, I think running late needs to call it and just back off in the situation, and they exactly are going to do that with the redeploy. Not too sure if they're just going to be close enough to try to recover the banner, but at this point, they're running low on ammunition. They are going to try to get the banner too. Okay, so we are going to have them get it, but they don't really have the guns to keep up this fight right now, Dia.
We need the Mission Impossible theme, because this is magic that we are seeing in front of us. The dome as well, protecting Kuzme on the way out, running late. Looked like they got away with it, but oh no, they've run into even more trouble. A charge rifle on the other side takes down Light Star Joe, and now Kuzme, he knows he's got to run for the hills. One party you might be able to take, but two, it's too much.
Especially right now in their positioning, they're so far away from the circle, they're going to have to rely on either these jump towers or another redeploy. But as a rat, you don't want to bring that attention that you're just flying through the skies by yourself, which is exactly what Kuz may be forced to do, unless he wants to try to take this circle slowly, and he's got the meds to do it.
Up in the north, TBA looking down the barrel of an Ash squad, it seems, that have gathered in the center right now. We saw Splash and Excedrin holding up around here earlier, and now with TBA well-versed in how that one ended up playing out, are trying to put the same sort of screws to them. There we go. Screws to them is the word that I'm looking for, as it's MBS that are sat in here with, I will say, a surprising amount of shields for a squad that isn't peeking.
Oh, I also saw the Spitfire with my favorite skin over by one of these players, but MBS sitting happily here. They know where that next circle is going to be. You can see the intel here on their mini-map. They see, oh, they're opting to go for the redeploy. I'm wondering here, I think it's just for the passive purpose to see which of these squads are in the area, and they're going to be prioritizing just hanging out by the edge of the next circle since, again, they do have that information.
Yeah, it's a move for, I suppose, the very early rotation. Caught us a little bit off guard, but now that they've got this position, everybody knows what exactly is going on. MBS should be safe for the time being, and like you said, with that Spitfire, they've actually got a lot of efficiency that they can eke out of their backpacks as well. Master Clutch should be able to hold down the fort, but the defensive bombardment here shows us at the very least that they are going to be pushed. I'm just not sure whether it's wise for right now. Dome not forced just yet on either side, but Master Clutch is just continually putting in damage that costs his team absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and the bombardment actually just kind of fell a little short where it was too far to really continue on that damage, but they're just backing off out of this fight. MBS, they've come out on top, being able to rack up enough of that damage to also help out Master Clutch's Evo Shield. Just 2 shots away from getting it all the way to purple, but with the Spitfire, he could find a lot of success with this, but it's just a matter of this poke continuing on. MBS winning this fight over this building, though, have wasted the bombardment, but they'll have enough time for that next fight to build another one.
I like that they're taking a look over by Overlook as well, knowing that their next threat could come from there. 69 damage left until Master Clutch's next Evo. Nicely done from him. And as we wait for MBS's next move, they'll likely be sitting here for a little while, just sort of fielding other squads that'll come towards them so close to that Evo. But this is the play that I was expecting, nay, desiring to see, was holding down these small buildings, and Splash have nailed it. Sitting in the center right now is a position that should age well.
And this is exactly what Splash's game plan has been too. From the very beginning, we've seen them extremely aggressive, but notice this. They've put in some pressure, but they're not playing quick enough. They're just playing for positioning at this point because they know that they've built up a large enough gap to play way more patiently going forward with the rest of the remaining games. Unlike on the other side of the coin, you have Team Vizio, who's right there with Team Excedrin, and they're forced to try to traverse through this climatizer battlefield where a lot of these teams have already made the rotation, but look at the pressure that we're already seeing from Fury Sucks with the flatline.
This is looking really rough for them, now angled on by quite a few squads. Vizio are going to have to use their pure mechanical talent to outplay this, because they do not have a lot of options for safe places nearby, even if they were to use that redeploy. Just for right now, the crates will provide enough cover, but as this next zone expires in under a minute, they're going to have to move a lot faster than they would have been comfortable with, and we know that the zone is going to pull them ever so much further south. With Phony waiting on the rest of the team right now, he's got the dome for a little bit of protection, and it looks like Nerf may have used their own going for a little bit more aggression than anything. Demi is going to get right back into the fight, I will say, at the cost of a thermite from the other side, and defensive bombardment should keep this squad going just fine.
And with that gold backpack too, they can maintain this pressure. They won't get pushed on, and with the bombardment, that's that insurance too to guarantee that none of these squads will try to go into that building here. The portal also set up. Nerf have a really nice setup going on here, recovering from that last fight. They've secured some KP, but they are playing by the edge of the circle here.
I'm going to say something a little bit sinful here. I kind of miss when Seer was in the meta as well, mainly because I really liked it when teams would finish a fight and instantly throw down the ultimate, just for that extra little bit of scouting. It is all about expending these cooldowns just for the defense. Sometimes it's not all about getting the kills, it's about giving your team time to recuperate, and that's something with the knowledge of when cooldowns will be back up that is being balanced perfectly inside of this lobby. As we push over towards Overlook, though, you will be missing it for about the next minute or two.
Oh yeah, look at the way a lot of these squads have made their rotation over to Overlook, and they know that with that circle pulling north towards Climatizer, the ground to cover from Overlook all the way to Climatizer, you're stuck on the high ground as long as you maintain that positioning on the cliffs. But it looks like another team actually has secured the building that would lead them to the backside of Climatizer already. So Nerf kind of in between two squads in this situation, and you can see DB actually getting shot by that squad off to the left side.
You gotta be so careful about these angles, and he's lucky that he doesn't go down, because the problem here, if you end up falling, is that not only have you gone down, but you're going to cost your team a dome, which is in some cases even more important than a life. Of course, waiting on that cooldown, playing for the rest of his team. It'll be his job to maintain everybody nice and safe. And the nice thing is, they'll have plenty of shield swaps to do it with.
Only thing is, Nerf does not know where that circle is going to be pulling, looking at the information that they do have on their minimap. So that's going to be important here if they are trying to make some guesses with a lot of these squads already with that information, prioritizing their rotation. And you talk about one of these squads, Excedrin here, actually coming out of Fragment, are trying to take some shots here over at that portal. They do find some shots landing here, but they want to try to get aggressive. They need to get this KP. It's absolutely detrimental here. And look how quickly you see enemy finishing up that squad. Immediately deleted. It looks like they had that squad on the run, which is why they were forced to portal out.
Kimchi's like, I softened him up for you, man. Come on. Like, you can't just take everything. But Crew, he knows no boundaries there. Ends up picking up the 2 kills, and nicely done for Excedrin, just in the nick of time as well, because we are on game 3 of 5 games today. This needs to be the turnaround for a point for Excedrin if they want to take the glory that Splash have been building up away from them. This is their week, theoretically, but right now, Splash are making it a show. Excedrin waiting on the rest of their momentum to accumulate, leaving plenty of room for other squads at the moment, like KOP, to continually take pot shots down here, and the charge rifle is a very, very fun time as the one wielding it.
Oh yeah, especially when you get to put in some pressure into those redeploys. You say KOP, they had the fire burning in their eyes. It was We Touch Grass, though, that is met with that squad that just utilized that redeploy right in the front of this tunnel. And this is what we were talking about before. When it comes to a lot of these rotations, especially for these northern circles, you have a lot of squads already prioritizing that position. So you're forced to try to share a lot of this space with squads that already were able to prioritize that positioning.
Check it out, We Touch Grass with that last scan. Have the data that they might actually be being wrapped around on the other side. Not enough hostiles were shown, so We Touch Grass definitely pretty on their toes right now. Have to be worried about potentially taking that zip line up. KOP pretty worried themselves after having lost a member, and it was to Vizio who walked over and decided, yep, this space is ours now. We have made our way up top and can fire down at Splash, who currently are just farming it up with the caustic gas in the ravine.
Oh yeah, especially Excedrin too, also been putting in so much pressure. I'm seeing Kimchi Lee pop off. He may be actually off to the other side by this truck as they make their way over passing Epicenter with a lot of this fighting happening right in front of Vizio. And let's not forget, Team Splash has secured one of those trucks from down low on the low ground by the train tracks too. So these are our top squads now within the same area, with 16 squads still left with round 3 closing in.
16 is a lot of teams to go through, but for some teams, they'll be looking at it and not going, oh, it's a a challenge, they'll go, it's more KP for us. Vizio is one such squad that thinks this way, and as they take the bridge, a very risky, quite open position off in the north end of this circle, they'll have plenty of opportunity to farm up the damage and potentially those kills where Nerf are playing things a little bit closer to home around the RVs. That is a dangerous place to be, Dimi.
I like the way that DM's just dancing around this this ult too, just to be able to replicate what we had seen earlier from Messiah. Just being able to get that knock is so important, but it doesn't look like Nerf could even finish this up here. They're forced to take the portal back, and that's the pressure from the other squads from across the log. So even though DM got that knock, they can't really push in on that.
Yeah, deep pocket principle is protecting Razor right now. They've got so much coverage from every other squad that will fire at anyone pushing up at that RV, and that's part of the power of these small little redeploy vehicles. However, take a look at this. It is Vizio in yet another fight. These guys never stop, and they may just be putting an end to KOP right now. They're showing up at the kill feed, and just like that, KOP are gone, with Splash making their own presence known on our screens right now in the most welcome of ways. They have predicted exactly the same ring as you did, Vicky, and let's see if it plays out in their favor.
And I like the slow approach too. They see somebody replicating right ahead of them, but they're between two squads, so they know with all this noise that it's just a matter of time before the squads over at Overlook take a notice and focus their attention on this team. Again, they've had a much slower pace in comparison to the last two games where they've just kind of slowed things down, not really focused on the KP, but these redeploys are going to give me a heart attack here, Dia. But they've prioritized the sniper tower, which isn't a bad idea, but they are going to be in the line of sight of a lot of these squads here.
It was so risky. Right next door to Nerf as well. Razor still looking up at them, and TBA somehow escaped relatively unscathed. None of them even dropped to flesh right there. Up on this sniper tower, things are just close enough that nobody's really able to shoot at them. It's even further away. Ground gets covered, and Vizio now, with the attention all on them, still running this high ground right next door to Splash, should be able to control the center of the map.
Oh, but another squad now redeploying. So many of these teams with these last-minute rotations, and even though it may not be 16 squads here, 13 squads, it's still a lot. We even lose a member to the ring as these last-minute rotations are just being pressured out by these squads that are holding onto these rocks right now. With 4 KP here in the pocket of Scissors, those assists coming in clutch, but they're just trying to get into a spot. They know there's a squad right below them, but they don't know just who it is yet.
Scissors is like, yeah, somebody is over there, but he can't actually commit down to the low ground because he knows he can be run up on as well. I believe it's just a rat on this bottom floor, so all of Vizio are gonna wrap around and just toss shots in. No, it wasn't a rat. It was 2 different people just occupying such a small amount of space. Vizio, however, makes short work of them, and I like the teamwork, the call to say, let's not take any unnecessary risks. We get these 2 KP, we get out, and we do it as a team.
I just love the way that Scissors kind of inched forward, looked at Fury, was like, can you come with me, please? And together were able to approach, and that's what's important. They didn't know that it was 2 or a full squad there. And meanwhile, Team Splash, I was talking about how they've been taking things slow, and they didn't wait until the opportunity arose here for them to take this building. A great reposition because they were quite in the middle of a lot of squads that were focusing on Vizio, and Splash was right next to them, so they repositioned in the nick of time.
Now, with Vizio and Splash making so much noise in the lobby, the thing that has been haunting Excedrin the whole time, this KP problem, is really starting to become even more scary because Vizio has had the chance to take off and Splash is continuing their amazing streak. This may very well be another 20-point game for them if they can keep this momentum up. But Razor, the momentum looks to be coming to, maybe a halt, taking a fight right underneath a building rife with enemies. They may be going down with Fearing Live already meeting his end. Bursty down as well. Nerf end up collecting even more kills and still hold on to their safe space that they've had for 4-5 minutes now.
Look at this graveyard that they've built up in the building too. So many death block boxes not only in the building but around, and a nice grenade toss here from Splash. Look at the opportunity as they open this up. They get the thermite damage done. They isolate turns in the process. Now Nerf is down 1 member. They were just resetting in the process too. And look at this approach between Blight having up the traps. He's going to be able to control some of that space down below to prevent these death boxes from even being looted.
1 square meter of mispositioning, and that is it. Even Messiah almost goes down to just a step out of line, and as the circle closes in around Overlook, playing underneath is very, very difficult for any team, but Splash, they're the ones prepared to do it, firing up at teams trying to take the height away from them. Messiah's still alive and rounds the corner just to throw a few shots into an already decaying corpse. Now being out from the back, though, he finally has gone down, and Splash may just meet their end here as well, with Blight trying desperately to keep everybody at bay. He pulls out that Nox Gas grenade, but ends up opting out of it now. Rez has come in, Gold Bag is in, and Splash get to continue playing in this game.
I love the way he also tried to dance around that dome. They may not be in a building, but they're playing this close quarter space so well, but look at the pressure, look at the grenades. There's just too much here for Splash to work with. There's still 7 squads left here too, but with Phoenix with the gold backpack, can he come in clutch? The knockdown shield and the barrel are providing all the cover that they need right now, Dia.
No way is he doing this. The defensive bombardment even gets a hit on the end, and Splash get not a second, but a third life. They are looking feline out here with the amount that they've been able to get away with, but they've still got squads everywhere around them. 7 remaining, and it's just really around 1 building. The journey is far from over, and let's not forget, these knockdown timers are going really low, so Splash have to be very careful about taking engagements from here on out. Around the corner, though, goes Messiah, and Phoenix commits along with him. The damage has been done. Fury is down, and Splash might just take down Vizio with a straight-up 3v3. Phoenix has walked right by a Gibraltar, but he's able to get away, as well as Blight collects the kill on Phony. Now it is the wipe on Vizio, and Splash get to return to their previous place. It is incredible!
What am I seeing right now? I cannot believe they just got away with that. Splash is on another level. Not only were they allowed to reset, they walked away off of securing that KP. And look at these angles that they continuously take. Dia, they're fighting 2 different squads at once right here, while still playing out of the low ground.
They are going for it as well. They are not waiting for the game to come to them by any means. You can constantly see Messiah continuing to poke out, and he's doing it again. Already finding flesh with the wingman. He's committed so much, and the rest of Splash are here to clean up, finding even more flesh, but it's not nearly enough as Blight needs to retreat back to get that bit of a shield swap. His teammates already fallen and eating a thermite. Splash could meet their end right now, and it looks like they just might. The thermite still putting them in a difficult place, and Splash finally are out. With Nerf as a 2-man, the ones that could still clutch this game, they're gonna have to run through the ring. We're in the top 3 squads, and let's see if Nerf can survive.
Still, they've managed to finish that up with so much KP. Now Nerf with just 4 squad, he gets taken down immediately. It was TBA holding the high ground too.
Now they're gonna jump
such a great positioning. What are they gonna do in this situation?
They just looks like they're gonna be able to clutch it out. Even dome fighting to the maximum. TBA steal the game away from everyone else.
Oh my gosh, the way that they were still in the high ground while all that chaos was going down. What a performance that we just saw from our squads to the very end. But again, positioning is important. Placement, of course, so important. But did you secure enough KP in that fight, in that chaos that we saw happening underneath the building? We're gonna have to see.
Yeah, that was really crazy. The amount of kills that went down, the amount of chaos, the amount of lives, of course, that Splash had. And really, you couldn't have asked for a better Game 3, because this time Splash didn't win it. Nerf ended up coming out. So maybe they've gotten themselves into a position to start to claw their way back in, with TBA, the experienced roster that we spoke of in Game 2, making their face known in that winner's screen. Let's find out what the Mobile One leaderboards have for us on the other side of a break.
Verses coming daily under pressure. Working on the plot and the scheme. The true side trademark is at the edge of your dreams. I'm talking. Yeah. One shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. Put the bars in the breaks. I'm talking one chance that was so good for the goal. It's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
What's
going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Eat, Speak, Compete.
Eat, Speak, Compete.
Yes. What have you been playing this week?
More of all these guys. Somebody say another booster box.
Yeah, right?
I'm not excited for the release of New Worlds.
But when you look at the hallmark titles of the last decade, it feels like they're finally ready.
They finished strong. Like 35-2.
And I just typed dance ? And put maybe Kyle, if you're watching, put like a red alarm or whatever in my hand right here. Pause and go watch it, or you can just skip the rest of it. We're gonna talk about it. Final spoiler warning. Luke.
Oh yeah.
The little web slinger.
I literally feel like it's a guaranteed flop.
Follow us on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, or if you want to see our gorgeous faces, we're over on YouTube. Just search Esports Arena.
Dang. That's super fun sounding.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go.
That sounds super fun. I think that
All right, everyone, welcome back. 3 games in the books and just 2 more to go here as TBA, one of the better open squads we've seen over the last few weeks, grabs a win there in Game 3. And despite Splash seemingly thriving in the chaos of that late circle under the building, they aren't quite able to grab the win, but still some good KP from them, so they should be feeling still very comfortable at the top of our Mobile One leaderboard. But let's check out our third player of the game here for tonight's competition, and it's going to go to our old friend Stomps. In my opinion, one of the best fraggers that has ever competed in Series E on one of our partner squads here. Stomps, of course, competed with Season 2 team Pop-Tarts, and this time around 5 kills, 2 assists, and just short of 1,900 damage there. Of course, TBA, Stomp's kind of the straw that stirs the drink there for that squad. Definitely doing some good work in that one, and a big reason why they grab another victory here in Series E. We'll have to see if they can build on that again. Just 2 games remaining. I mentioned it earlier, with only 5 games on the night. Every single game is that much more important because you're going to have less margin for error, and you need to collect as many points as you can as quickly as possible. So TBA doing work in Game 3. We'll see if they can build on that in game number 4. Do want to remind you folks, of course, it is Excedrin week, and if you want to grab yourself a brand new Team Excedrin jersey, you can just head over to shop.esportsarena.com today. That's shop.esportsarena.com. Grab yourself a brand new jersey. You can rep Team Excedrin during Excedrin week. We are going to go to a quick break, though. When we come back, we'll get ready for Game 4, and Dia and Vicky Kitty will be here.
Hey, my name is Kimchi Lee.
My name is Cruisin.
My name is Enemy.
Boom! Excedrin! Congratulations, Team Tonka.
And I play Apex Legends.
And I play Apex Legends for Team Excedrin.
For Team Excedrin, and you're watching Excedrin Week. Excedrin. Game over for headaches.
Enemy taking time to hit that bat. They're stuck on the low.
Let's go!
Slow ring closing in. It's going to be the full set, and it is Team Excedrin on the other side of this one. Kimchi Lee receiving.
Rotate out towards that building. But it looks like Kimchi is
Between Excedrin and Jewelers and Excedrins, this is not a fight you want to lose right now. You need these points. Thankfully, Cruisin, sitting with a purple shield to boot, definitely has all the makings to find success here. The series.
Verses coming daily under pressure. Working on the plot and the scheme. The true sign trademark is at the edge of your dreams. Yeah. One shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. Put the bars in the breaks. I'm talking one chance that was so good for the goal. It's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Welcome back to the casting desk, ladies and gents. 3 games down. We are over the halfway point, and that means that do or die time for these teams has come and now is here to stay. And with just 2 games left to go, those Mobile One leaderboards are looking mighty, mighty fine and are going to be a good reference point for these squads, especially those battling for a top spot. See if anybody can take it away from Splash.
Yeah, especially since we won't have all 6 games here and there's only 2 games left. This is it. And look at Splash, those 64 points. But look how much that gap has kind of been bridged here. I mean, I believe they were up ahead before that last game by nearly like 30 to 40 points here. But in a very similar way, TBA has clawed their way up and now sitting at 38 points right behind Splash with 64 points in first place.
And oh my, TBA looked so good. I'm so glad that we talked about them in a little bit in game 2 because it aged so well. Like fine wine to see them come out on top. Of course, with the Mobile 1 leaderboards does come our Mobile 1 high performance moment, and that is going to be a really exciting thing to watch because there were so many of them in that game, and this comes as no surprise when Splash were able to outlast, outgun, and outman 2 different teams at the same time.
The fact that they were able to juggle so much of this aggression at once and just play off of that one wall alone. I mean, a lot of these teams had used up their lethals here. The grenades were already tossed out to keep up the pressure on both Messiah and Phoenix, but Blight coming out on top and getting that res, or rather, I believe it was Phoenix getting that res with the gold pack was so big here. But then the reset too, nonetheless, that's why this squad is sitting in first place. They've only won game number 2, but in all 3 games, they've secured so much KP in the process.
It is really wild, and like you're talking about, that gold bag is putting in overtime. Lobas everywhere are like, you see, that's why you need us, because you get this kind of stuff, and that's Splash doing it, by the way, without a Loba. That's just how good they are to be able to continually make use of this, and it's just a small advantage. It's just one item, but you've seen already in this game how much it can change things. Moving, of course, into our 4th game very soon, Splash will have the chance to continue abusing the items and the players around them to the maximum. Dropping in once more. It's time for game 4.
Again, I'm loving this confidence that I'm seeing from this squad. I love the fights that they're taking on, but also we have to take up the adaptation that we're also seeing from Splash, where I believe in game number 3, despite the KP that they were able to secure, they fell shortly because they were stuck in a pretty bad position on that low ground where TBA and Nerf individually were secured on the high ground for that final circle. So I'm wondering if Splash may approach this by prioritizing their positioning more than anything.
A lot of that pro experience tuning in with our winning team, of course, TBA. As they move on over to Overlook, they will have to make a very, very large journey all the way back across the map as we are returning to Countdown. And we'll get to see how this one plays out once more. Last time, of course, it was Splash that came out pretty darn happy with an ending that brought us over by Lava Fisher. But this time, the circle's looking ever so slightly different and may pull us a little further into the open.
We've been pretty good at predicting some of these circles here, Dia, but this is going to be tricky here because this could be a circle that pulls all the way to the east side of Countdown, where it's that open field where a lot of these squads may want to secure some of those trucks early game, but then at the same time, as Landslide's kind of in that next circle, we could expect that they could also have a chance of pulling south, but nonetheless, I'm expecting an open field circle for that final circle, so it's going to get chaotic. And speaking of chaotic, we're tuning into Team Intel, and Petty Boss is on the Pathfinder.
It simply never stops. With Intel constantly just throwing us curveballs right now. This is what we were talking about a little bit earlier, although I will say, Vicky, it's not how I expected it to happen, with teams experimenting with what can bring them the most success. And you and I have both seen this in the past. Somebody pulls out an unorthodox legend, and all of a sudden, they start frying. So, you know what? Maybe it's just that time for Team Intel, because we're going to find out right now. Loaded up into the cart, Intel are full sending it over to the other side, and are doing so very silently so far. It's time for the trap to be sprung.
Oh, I love this. And, you know, I'm not surprised from seeing this gameplay from Petty. Petty coming back from an amazing performance with his squad by deck by back in the qualifiers. And look at how quickly, he doesn't even get a piece of the action. He only gets the knock, he secures the kill, and he immediately backs off. But look at this in the line of sight of the other 2 members of the opposing squad that they're diving up on.
Not even cracked at this point. Now it's Digital Demon's turn to round this corner, and the R9 makes short work of an entire squad with Intel. Sort of as we predicted, switching legends and just frying.
Oh, man, I love the way that they also were able to split up some of that attention. That's that synergy right there, too, because I love the way Digital Demon and James had just taken 2 separate angles while Petty secured that one knock. He distracted the other 2 remaining teammates so that way the rest of Team Intel could get a better positioning. So with that quick fight, they're going to be able to wrap that up, get some of that extra KP as well as loot up, and they're going to be able to make that rotation soon. And they also have that survey beacon that's up on the high ground that they could also utilize.
A little bit of reduced cooldown on Pathfinder won't hurt anyone as well. The little miniature objectives in Apex Legends really paying off for them there. After finishing that fight rather quickly as well, a crucial thing in Apex Legends to keep from being third party, they've not got a lot to worry about. But the same cannot be said for Razor, who were taking shots from above, and as they move through Skyhook, an increasingly dangerous place that is home to several teams more often than not, they'll have to be pretty darn careful as they've opted to taking a more northerly approach to the zone.
They have done some damage here from afar too, so they've been able to put in some pokes, and they are working with some pretty great Evo shields. And again, we've noted that the circle is pulling towards that east side of Countdown into that open field, so leaving Skyhook uncontested here, if possible, will be a really great look for Razor, especially if they could secure that tunnel that leads from Skyhook over towards Countdown.
Now as they look to perhaps do so, they've called you very much so, but they're walking up on a squad that's recently valked out, more importantly, at the squad that is shooting at them, and attention gets turned Razor's way just a little bit too quickly for how they were comfortable with. Popping out though, finding Flesh, it looks like Fear in Live is going to take that as an invitation in. Once again though, through the window, a creative angle ends up resulting in a knock, and now likely a full squad wipe in the favor of Razor.
Oh, I love this creativity, and I love the quickness, too. He put the cut. No, don't do this. Don't do this. Oh, no. I know James Bardoff is rolling right now. This is exactly what I feel, pain more than anything. But you know what? Bursty says, we take those. After setting up those barrels, they quickly finish that fight. But we have to give points over for the creativity from Razor.
Really cool stuff to watch, and it's not every day that Caustic gets to pay off like that. So often, it's just a barrel here, a barrel there. A little bit of data, that is vindicating for Caustics the world around. And Intel, they're looking to vindicate even more Pathfinders as well. Not surprising at all that they are rolling up on yet another team and taking them down. That's 2 quick kills given over to Intel, and they're chasing a third.
Oh yeah, now with this finisher, you got the reset here with the Evil Shield from Digital Demon. Petty Boss may be in some trouble though as he goes in for the reset, but he's finished up quickly with that business. He's the kill leader after cleaning up that squad, and what a start, an aggressive start at that, going on to game number 4. We highlight the fact that it's not a full 6 games here, Dia, but game 4 is always usually important because this is going to kind of set the pace going into our last game after this.
The pace is going to be Usain Bolt-like at this rate because Petty Boss at 1 HP right now is going to continue to push it, zip-lining through like Tarzan this game right now. Moving on up, we do know that the ring is pulling us, again, a little bit further east than we are right now, so Intel's Edge playstyle is only going to get a buff as they make their way over towards Countdown, potentially into Skyhook, where we know some teams are already setting up residence. For right now, it's a little bit of time to rest, reset, get their thumbs all warmed up, do the stretches, and then move into the next couple fights that we know are going to be coming perhaps a little bit faster than most teams would be comfortable with.
Maybe, yeah, looking at some of the squads who could also make their rotation away from Overlook here, too. But you see Petty, 2 World One family, he's going to just ignore the fact that he just finished up that squad quickly. He's going to quickly go into the replicator to get what he needs. Great time here for him to loot up, too. He's also got that zip line again. So a little unorthodox with this composition, but it's working out beautifully here for Team Intel as they make that rotation away from that northern part of the map.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to do it, but as soon as the shield bat comes out, it is revealed to us that Intel are not planning to tank the zone for any amount of time. We do see teams at times sort of go for the cursory loot, taking their time in zone 1 and making sure they can pick up everything that other squads would leave behind. But speaking of being left behind, this is not ABW being left behind. They say absolutely not. You come right back down here, and the out-of-bounds play is just not going to be it for the squad above them. Rhino gets taken down, and ABW, with 1 going low, should be able to outlast the defensive bombardment, but it's looking a little risky, I will say.
Oh yeah, with that dome at least they could try to restabilize it, but they still lose a member in the process. But look who's across the field. It's Team Razor that got to hear the fighting going on. Although they find that KP off of Rhino, wasn't worth it now with Razor sensing the blood. It's just 1 last member of ABW just left as they try to run away.
Just trying to shoot his feet out from under him at the end there. Razor have another squad to deal with, but so do Intel as fights break out across World's Edge right now. Intel can't actually get into the building this way, as Petty Boss very quickly finds out, though I appreciate that he at least tried. James Fearless, on the other hand, has a very creative angle in, and even a cutoff on the roof right now. This should be unspotted. Gibraltar tries to fly by him, but the bullet sponge on the floor looks like it might just be gone. There it is. Fearless picks up the kill, and he looks really good doing it, I might add.
Oh yeah, and they're trying to find the last one, trying to get away with that Wraith Q too. It was quite interesting. It looks like, I'm not too sure, we didn't get to see it if that crush maybe was because of the portal by the doors. I've seen that happen before, but that would be quite interesting now with this fight still prolonging itself all up by trials here. It's Vizio that managed to keep that one last straggler away, go into the circle. They're not going to chase after that though, as they have so much loot to work off of here. It looks like they just want to prioritize this, especially since Fury is on the Loba. They're not going to be too low on loot just yet. And look at this, it's actually not pulling closer to Countdown, it's pulling closer to Landslide. So you know what's going to be extremely important here is that high ground that Landslide provides on that upper platform. And surprisingly, no team has claimed space in Landslide just yet here, Dia.
It might actually be that Fearless and company can make their way in, as they're the only ones even making the approach over towards Landslide. This is the home territory of Vizio though, and if anybody should be able to win this zone, it should be them, right? That's got to be the question on everybody's mind as we move a little bit closer towards the Landslide area. Right now, my concern also definitely directed towards just south of Landslide in this tunnel that so often becomes a death trap.
We have to see here how they try to play this out. I like the way that a lot of these squads are rotating from that northern side because they know that that's where a lot of the chaos is going to come through, especially looking at some of the squads that left Skyhook here. But you see Vizio, they're still taking this fight from across the lot. They've been finding so much out of that charge rifle too, so they're going to keep running that through, and you can see how some of these squads, where they're positioned right now, and it is James and company who are secured in Landslide, but they're rotating right out. They hear the fighting, and so they want to secure that KP.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. If anybody's shooting, they are definitely going for it. Excedrin definitely shooting right now. Fortunately, out of audible range of Fearless and company, are going to likely have to go through the tunnel, but with the dome already expended, we know there are at least 2 squads in here. It would make it a very risky push for the Excedrin boys. They do not have the Valkyrie. It's one of the adaptations that they've made in the past couple weeks, and that at the very least could definitely cost them, especially with this rotation that so often does get valked over when we're talking about these hills and the move into Landslide.
Oh man, seeing Kimchi set up with the Devo, I'm in danger. The terrible of 3 times, it's absolutely chaotic, just like it is inside here in this bunker for Intel. They're trying to take this passively from around the corner, but Digital gets beamed. He's forced to take the portal, and so does James. Intel actually looking like they're falling off from this fight. It's just up to Petty Boss, but it's just a 2v1. He's forced to get up, but he doesn't get to the portal in time.
Pops right in there, but Premier able to res at least the 1 member right now. Are fighting a 2v1. If it even happens, gonna make it a 3v1 very shortly, and we'll see whether that gold bag has come in. No gold, but still, Premier very much comfortable. Now we're looking for the remaining members of the Intel squad, but they simply don't have the time because they're being pushed on the other side. Heals are coming in, but Premier in a very rough spot are actually going to take the portal and follow Intel. What on earth is happening here? This is not going to go well for them. You have to imagine as Intel clean up one after another. The members of Premier who stepped a bit too far. Petty Boss has gone down in the meantime, and it's looking rough for Intel, but that couple KP that they got served looks pretty good on them.
I'm just surprised that the squad actually ended up taking the portal there. I guess they wanted to take their chances other than getting sandwiched by the other squad. They didn't feel confident with that reset, but for Intel, it served up on a silver platter. There was even some beamage coming in from the left field over there with the squad already securing that spot over by Lava Fisher. But again, that circle, it's pulling all the way to the east side from Lava Fisher. So a lot of these fights here that Team Intel is seeing is going to be coming their way if they don't get moving soon.
It is wild that Intel were able to recover, but like you say, the battle is not over yet by any means, and those very same shots that helped them secure 3 KP now start to whittle away at them. Fortunately, the reset has provided just enough meds to make sure that they are comfortable, but Vizio, pretty comfortable themselves in the south end of Lava Fisher, are definitely putting the screws to yet another squad up in the north. They just don't quite have that gap closed that they might have wanted right now to be able to clean up what's already a squad on flesh.
They're taking notes from Team Splash. They were taking shots at 2 squads squads at once in this situation, and now instead of it being Intel off to the side, it's going to be that squad now right in front of them. They have the black market, so they are going to be able to secure any last-minute loot that they may find, especially since there are some death boxes off to the right now, and Vizio are just trying to take control over that building. They're going to have to get moving soon, but they do have some time to work with, as well as that redeploy from Scissors if they so need it.
They very well may. They have been run up behind from another squad. Of course, whenever you leave the spot that looks so good for you, any other team is happy to take it. So now Vizio have no way of returning back home. But as they see everybody rotating in towards that next ring, they'll be able to put a few shots into people's backs before actually managing to, it looks like, make their way back in. Excedrin, on the other hand, desperately trying to push in as well. In that train tunnel that we talked about earlier, seem to have wiped out at least one squad in front of them. But there were two, crucially, and Cruzen barely getting out alive. Should be able to pop the heals. It has to be a slow fight from Excedrin. Slow and controlled.
And I like the reset that we had seen from Kimchi Lee right there too. You see enemy taking the off angle. Nice shot with the PK right over the crate there too. But look at these off angles. So no matter what, enemy's safe here because he would be forcing them out of their line of sight. But Kimchi Lee doesn't even give the opportunity to the rest of Excedrin to take those kills. He's going to be able to clean up shop here. They finished that fight quickly. Now going over to the other side. Circle's going to be closing in soon. So now Vizio are trying to get in on the action themselves. We talk about the redeploy, and that's exactly what they're going to prioritize. Now it's a matter of if these squads have already secured that spot over at Landslide without giving up too much, but it looks like a squad may have gotten them beat here. There's a squad right ahead of them that also just used the redeploy, but it doesn't look like the high ground. Oh, it is actually going to be taken up. It's going to be taken up by one member only, but Vizio want to play this safe, so they're going to be playing from the low ground here.
I actually really like this spot. It gives you a little bit of height on everybody else approaching while keeping you safe from that ultimate high ground that is occupied by another squad. Vizio have played this really well so far, and now giving me a little bit of a chance to recover from enemy's previous absolute demolition on the PK. We get a break in between action, at least for Vizio. For Intel, however, it doesn't seem like they're nearly as lucky. They're taking quite a bit of damage so far, but Fearless has already found one knock, and Intel may be able to outlast if they can keep Petty Boss in it.
Petty Boss going down again. They have to be careful with that respawn timer too if they manage to get that reset. No gold backpack coming around this time. You can see the approach already coming in as they do see that they do get that knock. It's KOP actually who are trying to put in that pressure, but just like we had seen in the last game, none of these squads could actually secure that one knock to take advantage of that because they're getting beamed from other squads across the lot.
It's just so hard to push in through all the open ground, and that's why the long range is really benefiting the squads, especially in Landslide. KOP trying to play things a little bit more at mid-range right now are going to struggle for the next couple of minutes unless they can find themselves an RV, much like Intel have, to hole up in until such a time as they're able to move to, I want to say redeploy, but really redeploying at this point, likely a death sentence, so you're just going to have to make this things work with the bubble.
Gotta make do with what you got in this situation. We've seen what happens to some of these squads in the late game, but look again, still shots coming out. Looks like a triple take off to the side here as KOP now are trying to see what's happening, but that's a mobile respawn beacon being called in from the other side, and they are actually gonna go through with the res, it seems.
Actually going to work out for Nerve at the moment as Intel managed to take a very cheeky portal just a little bit closer in towards Landslide. We'll see if they are able to win out in this 3v3. Splash wait in the wings, as are Double O negative right now. With all of this chaos going down, Intel do have no choice but to take the portal back, and this time they lose Petty Boss permanently.
Oh no, Petty Boss had gone down a few handful of times here, but with Phony taking advantage of that, that's the Pathfinder off the table here for Team Intel. James also in trouble too, as Splash has now made their way over to the action too. So now Vizio playing over through this corner. They were forced out of that position that you were talking about here earlier, Dia, but playing out of this corner, they have that black market for some extra cover, as well as some extra ammunition if they need so.
Vizio have got that #1 squad in their sights, though. They see Splash in the distance that needs to be covered, and are playing in an area that is actually pretty darn open. Let's take a look at this Kraber. It's just the rat cam, but it's the most powerful rat that I have seen in a long time. A 145 crack comes through on a Valkyrie, and the second shot not quite gonna connect, but it is just by an inch. I like this usage of the defensive
no.
bombardment. Single man up here. Can he defend? He did so much damage earlier, but now on the low ground, Crook is all gone. He's been fully dropped on by the hard stuck D4s, and they are going to get out just like that. We get swiped.
What a way to just make an opening here. The Rat was the one that had secured that high ground. Now all I think here is, what would Vizio have done if they had seen that? They did know that there was somebody there, but they decided to opt to get closer to that tunnel instead, and now Splash have taken control over the black market. This is the time now where securing the position is going to be so important, but Splash having the high ground is going to allow them to still get as aggressive as they can before, but they've met up with that other squad right around the corner. They get the B Messiah with that one click on to Demi. And they're also getting pressured by a squad right behind them.
Messiah, please, you can't be doing it to him like this. Just the corner round was absolutely beautiful, but we saw them showing up the kill feed as well. Will Nerf get taken out? It's going to be Excedrin on the other side of things with one bullet in the Kraber that can change the game. Oh, no shot coming through there, but make no mistake, a fully turboed Devo means that Kimchi is not done just yet. Splash collecting more kills on the other side, and I believe we should have our Titans in this lobby still.
Oh yeah, and Blight also is repping that Diva with a turbo too, so Kimchi Lee's got some competition here when it comes to utilizing that weapon all the way from the other cross of the lot here. Now Splash are just trying to close in the gap. I love that though. They've already used up the dome, but with the portal being called in as well as the bombardment, Splash is just forced to play this bombardment from right underneath the structure.
Got a lot more space to work with for right now, and space is everything, especially in these late games, as KOP were forced to move up further. They're now under fire from multiple squads, and Splash can roll up on this easy as you like. A very nice bit of caustic gas gets thrown in by Blight, and while he will fall, maybe it's enough for Splash to be able to take this fight. Prodigy Ace is still alive, and Messiah, he is still waiting. He's going, no, I don't see the angle just yet. But Excedrin, they certainly do. Taking down a few kills. It's now just Messiah who is under fire, and Excedrin are going to play things slow, play things controlled, and walk up to this 6-box car.
Oh my god, and Splash still managed to get the knock, by the way. That caustic gas trap has provided so much coverage, but Excedrin, with three other squads, or rather two other squads other than Excedrin left, this could be their game, but look at this position that we're seeing from Vizio. They have the high ground. They're looking over at where currently Excedrin is situated at, as well as the Rat that Kuzpe is forced to play off to the right side, or maybe split up instead. You can see Cruzen actually off to the left for Team Excedrin.
It's the straight-up 3v3 between the two squads that we talked about day in and day out coming up to today. Vizio and Excedrin, Vizio who have been on top the entire Series E Season 4, and Excedrin who were just looking like they could challenge now. Who will win the straight-up duel here? It's an arenas match between these two squads, and Cruzen is from the top laying in the damage as the rest of Excedrin slide in. As Phony goes down, it looks like the end of Vizio may be near. The PK shot secures another kill, and surprise, surprise, it's Cruzen coming back in to finish off the kills. It's a 1v1 between him and Fury, and he takes it with the wingman shot, sending Excedrin to a victory.
That was so scary there too. You saw Vizio actually play that at a disadvantage. Their Valk did not have a shield for that last fight, but still, it was so close between both these squads.
So incredibly close, even up to that 1v1 at the end. They had me sweating, but in that metaphorical 3v3, Excedrin managed to win it out, and I'm sure that they are happy with that. My question is, of course, have they managed to get anywhere close to the top? Because after a pretty nice game one, both these squads have been relatively silent, and Vizio may still have the edge. Splash certainly coming out on top, but we're going to get all that data and more when we return from a short break.
We're going to do it in 3, 2, 1.
Game 4 all done there, and Team Excedrin grabs their second win of the night. It's going to do some work to try and close that gap with Team Splash, but they're still looking solid and get into those late circles, but we'll have to see just how much it closes that gap. But Excedrin, of course, 2 wins tonight. It is the first night of Excedrin Week, so it is a great way to start off their performance and have to show off during their sponsor week. So well played from them. Let's check out which one of those players grabbed player of the game here for game number 4 as we get ready for the final one of the day. And it's going to go to our good friend Kimchi. 8 kills and 3 assists there, and over 2,300 damage in the game. The leader of Team Excedrin here, the heart and soul of this squad, and he has a great pop-off performance here in game number 4, and that's going to go a long way here. Of course, at the very least, 23 points for the side of Excedrin there. And of course, we saw going into game number 4 that Splash was up at 64 points, and there was quite a sizable gap. So while there's definitely still work for Excedrin to do here in this final game, they have at very least put themselves in the conversation before we end the night here. So well played from them. We are going to go to a quick break right now, but when we come back, Dee and Vicky will get you ready for the final game of the day, and I'll be back to close things out.
Dun 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 dun. Game 5 coming up, Vicky. It is coming so fast. As today has already seemed like a really fast day, and I think it's because we never stop fighting. I feel like that has something to do with it. The points have been rolling in hard and fast, and it is time to check in with our Mobile 1 leaderboard to find out who is in the lead going into our last game.
That's the perfect summary of what we've had today, Dia. The extent to how aggressive our squads are getting, to how aggressive Team Splash sitting in the #1 spot has gotten with their KP 75 points, and we're moving on to our final game of the night. Team Excedrin is the only squad in contention that could really swoop from underneath Team Splash if they want to have that opportunity, but Team Excedrin needs to have the game of their lives, and basically another repetition of what we've seen game number 4. But aside from the fact that Team Excedrin has won 2 games out of the 5 for tonight, it should highlight the way that Team Splash is playing, because they've only won 1 game and they're still on top of Team Excedrin.
Death, and more death has followed Splash. It is actually so cool to watch, and with both of these guys being such great performers, I'm thinking more of where we've seen those highlights. Let's take a look at that Mobile 1 high performance moment to check out what was the biggest highlight from Game 4.
Oh, it seems to be the end of the game right here. And I really enjoyed this too, because we highlighted that at the very start, Vizio was playing at a disadvantage because they didn't have the health difference that Excedrin was playing from. But still, to the very end, between the PK, the Massives, as well as the Wingman from both squads, it was so close with the amount of damage that could be outputted in just a single shot.
Oh my lord, right round in the corner there with the one shot missing. I know that I instantly would have started sweating, but Cruzen, he has been the constant fryer for this team. Kimchi's called him out before as being an absolute mechanical monster, and that really comes in clutch when keeping your cool in situations like this. Excedrin took that fight wonderfully, and like you talked about, we're able to exploit the weaknesses of Vizio coming in, having to drop from that high ground with low shields already chunked out, and it was the momentum that Excedrin built out of almost nothing in the mid game.
And you saw that Excedrin played a very similar game plan to game number 1, where they're kind of playing the edge of the circle a lot. They were letting the fights come to them more than anything, because in this position here, we saw a lot of the chaos come down from right underneath that high ground platform. So the positioning here for Excedrin was fantastic, and to contest against our squad that has been winning every single week of the Series E Open, Excedrin now find themselves in the driver's seat for their own special week. But that is to say, if they could take it from right underneath Splash, that has not only won game number 2, but has consistently gotten so much KP, basically eliminating the opportunity for teams like Vizio and Excedrin to get that KP throughout their own game.
Yeah, one of these two teams, Splash or Excedrin, will be putting an end to the Titans' reign, will finally be taking down Vizio. But into this last game, we're not quite sure who yet. Things are looking good for Splash, but we've seen Excedrin pull off some miracle plays in the past, and are they being landed on right now? It seems like they may have another squad with them.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This is not what they were signing up for. Look at the immediate backpedal. You see them drop down. This is usually the spot where Kimchi Lee and company love landing on, but they're getting contested so early. He picks up the triple take. The shotgun tried to use it as a hipfire weapon, but the rest of Excedrin were split up. They were just not expecting another squad to contest them.
Dome just now expiring, but Kimchi with, oh my lord, no Dome. The wingman shots from enemy are just too powerful, and as Cruzen comes in, it is now a 2v1 in the favor of Excedrin. If they can turn this around, they get 3 KP absolutely scot-free. Kimchi and Cruzen just need to play things carefully with the caustic barrels around the outside, though there's actually enough time for a res to go off, and they've got to wrap around the building. Now coming around, they're going to end up finding some kills, but they're actually being full sent on by another squad because Light is coming in from Splash. They want to eliminate the competition early.
Oh, there is no way that this is happening in the last game right now. They understand it's not game over for Headaches right now. We're going to be trying to clean this up, but with the third-party Splash getting already this early game KP, this could be lights out for Excedrin as Splash continues closing in the gap here.
1 kill left, and oh my lord, you can run, but you cannot hide from Messiah. He has been frying all day, and though the missiles come up short, the chase is on, and it will not stop. We are at the corner of the map, and there is nowhere to go. If Cruzen can clutch this out, he is one heck of a god, and he may be able to get out over the zip line. We'll see as, oh lord, shot down by Messiah. It was the fate that so many have met, and it is Excedrin as a whole that gets swiped.
Oh, we won't be seeing Excedrin anymore for tonight, but that just guarantees here that Splash, they want that first place spot, they want the bragging rights as well as the prize pool to pocket in the cash money to pocket for themselves. But now Team Intel, they've lost James. I saw on the feed here that a grenade had claimed James Fearless life, and so it looks like another squad has been rotating in, and now Team Razor also in another early fight. You worded it perfectly, Dia. It's just been high-octane action from the very beginning, and nothing has let loose even to the very end.
The nice thing is that since we've made it to Game 5, the final game of the day, it really doesn't slow down. We all know that in final games, things go crazy, and Intel are going crazy right now with a kick to the face. Digital Demon absolutely melts Caselos and takes out KOP. We're at 17 squads, and First Ring hasn't even started closing, Vicky.
Just the fact of these squads just getting into these early fights, chef's kiss. I'm living for it. I'm here for it. And Vizio now finding themselves getting 2 knocks off the rip here too. See, Fury though losing those shields off of that Arcstar alone, playing the corner, taking a wide angle, but is going to let Phony do the rest of the deed, is going to be able to clean up here. And now we are down to 16 squads without the first circle even closing in yet.
With new threat taken out by Vizio, you're right, we're just going to keep falling. Let's see how many squads we can take out, even before that final ring, potentially, since Razor want to take a fight as well, car in hand. Dressif can walk up on this building, but the chunks haven't come through quite enough just yet, and that defensive bombardment, crucially, buying time for Razor to walk up. It is a defensive bombardment of their own that is giving them the space to do this, and really, really make this a tight spot for the team below them. Dressif taking the roof right now. That is enough of a chunk to start a fight, and Razor have to wait no longer as they drop down and look for these kills.
And like these little cheeky angles too, you see Dres now taking that window action, trying to find a way to try to put in some of that poke pressure, but it's just been so much action. We haven't even been able to see where that circle is going to be pulling just yet. There's a survey beacon off to the right of Razor, but this fight lasting a little bit longer than they may feel comfortable with. There's a portal being used here. Not too sure if it was just canceled. No, it wasn't actually. It's just holding onto the door for some insurance purposes, but they take the portal to get right out of that situation. They do not want any business from Razor, but they're right behind them now, swapping spots, getting a better position.
No knocks just yet, and even though Flesh has constantly been found, Razor are really struggling to clean up this fight. Even the reset has to come in for both squads now, giving them enough time to go at it again, but ults have been expended left and right, and right now we're running pretty darn low on mana. Even Fearing Live with the gold R301 has just the 17 shots, and that's going to be it. Razor want to take the fight. They want this KP, but they are running into a situation where they very well could die for it, and that is not worth it.
And that's just the decision that they have to call, and that's the level where you have to decide when to disengage. That's why we were highlighting, actually, when Kimchi Lee made the call to just back Excedrin off in that last game, how important it is here, because now Razor's finding themselves in that similar situation where they don't really look like they have the ammunition to keep this fight. And this fight's been going on for so long, you can only imagine all the other squads between Countdown and Landslide that may want to get a piece of the action.
This is going to attract a lot for sure. I'd like to see Razor start moving, especially since the zone has closed, but they've just been caught up here, and now, having finally lost a member, it is going to really start hurting them in a way that they had not felt before. With Dome down, Dressif takes a big chunk and can't quite get that res yet. Instead, it's a patience game, and we'll see if the 2v3 ends up working out. Dropping off the roof, Razor are going to try and take the flank angle instead, holding up inside and trying that great equalizer, the ring, to protect them.
Oh man, they're still playing the corner too. Why are you running here? They try to burst in. They finally get that shot in, but Razor still find this trade here with both members still alive. They get that knock here. Just tries to maybe bait out the contention with that syringe here, with the circle still taking some of these chunks away from them, but it is circle one. They can find themselves in this fight, but these pokes with the PK in close quarters could be so lethal here for Razor.
No way. They've actually evened this up to a 1v1 as well. Dressif can clutch this out, and 84 for Flesh might just be at the PK connects with that last shot, dealing just the 18 damage needed to send him to a victory, and it looks like Razor are going to be able to survive against all odds.
Wow, that was insane. Hopefully they get to recover off that circle too, get that res to reset. Meanwhile, I was seeing Petty Boss go absolutely crazy in the feed earlier, still going, mind you. He's going to be able to get that knock. He's the kill leader. They've secured enough KP here for the rest of the squad, and this position here is great as they make their way into that circle with Ring 1 closing right behind them, but it's Stick Drift OP on the Crypto. We talk about some mix-ups here. They're going to pull the trigger on the EMP before trying to close in the gap here.
It's all about that experimentation with round one literally just closing now. You talked about it already, but 13 squads is almost half the lobby gone. It is so ridiculous how quickly this game has been going, and even with that EMP, Stick Drift, I think, recognizing that taking a fight is a little bit more risky than they would like right now, given how fast people have been falling everywhere, and to Intel no less. Right now, taking a look back out at that house, they're going to try and play the Razor position from just a few games ago, sitting inside of this house, waiting for the zone to pull over by Overlook, and right now, it's looking pretty good. They're safe.
Yeah, they're just going to keep poking out here, just going to try to force out more of these materials away from that squad. But look, right behind them is another squad. So if Stick Drift OP give up this position, they are going to get pinched from right behind.
They might even get kidnapped.
A portal?
Holy moly, that was... you know what? You got to respect it. We're pretty close. We're pretty close by, and Exo could have been taken.
Oh no, you see Exo's health too. They know, they're still trying to push in right in front of him and sandwich them. It was Digital Demon. I'm surprised surprised Digital even took that fight.
Hey, as he jumped in there, I was amazed at the wingman shots, and it is just going to get even crazier right now with the dome already down. Stick Drift OP should have had the chance to capitalize on that, but I think not repeating the mistakes of other squads that we've seen today are not going to take that portal into near certain death. Instead, though, Petty Boss is coming for them. If you're not jumping into Intel, Intel are jumping into you. And Stick Drift OP are once again going to be forced to use that back, constantly bleeding out meds.
And there's still another squad holding closer to that building right off the cliff of Overlook, seeing all this happen right in front of them, waiting for the opportunity to see one of those knocks on the kill feed to third-party this fight. So Team Intel still need to be careful here, even though Petty Boss has built up this evil shield, but with the Arc Star on Exo, that's going to be the opportunity. The EMP is going to be called off right here too, but Intel, they are unfazed. They managed to find the knock, and look at this cleanup that they did immediately. Now they can expect the third party to come in without being too worried.
Zero chill from Intel and zero chill from Vizio. The partnered squads are out for blood in the very last game. They have had enough of your shenanigans, and oh my god, they are looking so good with this week coming in. I was expecting that it would be pretty close, that Vizio would ultimately be right next door to any of the winning squads if somebody else managed to even win. But right now, all the partnered squads are looking like they are the Vizios from weeks past, like they are the ones that can convincingly win games. And even right now, running late, encroaching on territory, may very well regret it if this is a partnered squad they're going up against.
Oh yeah, running late, sees that Splash is down a man, and that's going to be Messiah, who's been putting on so much pressure that won't be in the fight here. But 00 negative, the reverse here as Phony managed to get the knock, but look at the immediate retaliation with the gold backpack. They res him just as he got knocked, and now they're going to quickly go in for the reset.
Sandwiched between Vizio and Splash, there are very few squads that I envy, and this is not one of them. This is a very difficult position, and with Messiah recovering and continuing to force this very uncomfortable sandwich, Splash are just feeding this squad into the meat grinder and letting Vizio take over, do the hard work for them. We'll see if Splash can take out Vizio as well, as they are waiting for this ring to push everybody together, currently holding out on this tunnel. It's a good look from Splash, who have managed to weather the storm quite literally.
And they're closer to the circle too, so they're also going to be able to be on the other side of the circle to keep up that circle pressure from squads like Vizio and running late that are trying to get a better position here. But this fight in round 2 circle isn't going to hurt as much here, but it's still going to have to be taking some of that chunk of health away. So you want to make sure you have your eye on that circle nonetheless. The black market is going to be pulled in, but if anything, the biggest competition here that Splash really has to worry about is Vizio, but they don't really need to worry with this redeploy actually that they're using to go around the landscape to go over to Overlook.
This is such an unexpected angle and such a good position that they're getting for it. Splash, with a stroke of genius, secure one of the best spots in Overlook completely for free, uncontested, and after surviving an incredible Zone 1. Keep in mind, Vicky, it's Zone 2 that has just closed right now. We got 6 teams left. Splash is one of them, but we simply have not slowed down today. And if Splash take the high ground, they're probably going to whittle us down to 5 pretty fast.
God, I think Valk is so freaking cool. The redeploy, just to be able to get on the high ground right here. Just Splash knowing their angles. What a position that they've also been able to take. They just left Geyser. They were in a third-party situation and now have repositioned into one of the best spots you could possibly be right now in this circle. With the survey beacon available to them to the right, that is if they are able to get to that spot as they do pressure out this squad right over to that building.
Seems like at this point, anything that Splash wants is theirs. They got to keep their eyes on their backs, of course, as to whether they'll be flanked or not, since Scissors may well have a redeploy as well, and we know that Vizio was just behind them. However, Splash are all facing forward right now, knowing that there's one squad in front of them, and that with just a little bit of pressure and perhaps a little bit of luck, Vicky, they could find themselves 3 more KP, even more points they've already had, but they gotta keep Blade alive to do it, and oh lord, that looks hard.
Oh, the fact that they were still able to loot, though, as much as they can right in front of this squad's face, that's kind of disrespectful here as they managed to get away with it. They do not lose Blight in the process, so low on some ammunition, maybe some meds here, but they were able to loot up with those death boxes, and they're still holding this back angle, too. They have to keep their eyes, though, on the squad that is going to be leaving Geyser in those bunker doors. They could try to wrap around this exact spot, and since Splash has been fighting here, they have been making some noise.
It's a really nice game sense from Messiah as well, a player that has constantly impressed us, that has been the highlight of Splash today. Right now, just making sure that his team is safe, putting out the pressure in front of them. There's nothing that this guy isn't doing, and it is really showing in his team's kills, in their positioning, and absolutely everything. When you consider how much this Valkyrie has already provided, Vizio, however, having made their way out of Geyser, and even a little bit further into the east, are taking a bit of a different approach to Overlook, and once again, making a very uncomfortable sandwich. There are a lot of teams here, Razor included, that are not going to enjoy being stuck between Vizio and Splash.
And Vizio's going to have a ballpark here, too. They're just going to be able to hang out off to the side here, just trying to get in some pokes at the same time, but they're not trying to overextend. Other than Fury, who wants some of this loot. You can see with the Bocek only having 3 arrows, but look how quickly this squad wants to delete that black, or rather, it looks like they were trying to pressure out the black market, but Fury is going to be able to try to loot up quickly, maybe even get some extra ammunition with the shotgun, because you can see he's only repping those 16 bullets in the chamber with the Mastiff.
Fiending the Bocek right now as well. Very ammo-efficient weapon, I might add, so for him, this is a pretty good look, but he swaps out the shotgun for something even more ammo-efficient. We've got an alternator on board, and that is another amazing power of Loba. They are constantly able to get just that little bit extra from these care packages. For Vizio, it might just be the edge that they need to take a game themselves.
Also, a shield that's on the low ground here for anybody to quickly shield swap thanks to that black market. So now I'm wondering if Vizio is going to find their comfort underneath this sniper tower, or if they are going to give up this space to let another squad situate themselves on the high ground here. It's all about the line of sight that the Vizio puts themselves in, but they're just playing around the edge of the rocks, and look at this position that Splash has. Aside from these canisters that we currently see Blight set up with the Caustic, he's making up some makeshift cover as well as great view over a lot of these rotating squads. Also noting that there is a squad right behind him that still has blue Evo shields.
Got to communicate that to the Valkyrie as well. Messiah, who's been guarding the flank so far, now has a little bit more to deal with back there, and a small emote actually ends up being just the amount of time necessary for Messiah to go down. It's Sung, it's TBA that are contesting this right now, and as the res is coming in, Splash are for the moment very much in a risky spot, as TBA are sitting in this building still under fire from Splash for the last couple minutes, and they're gonna go low, but still not go down, as we're at a stalemate, and likely will be for a while, because 6 squads, we haven't dropped to 5 in a long time.
Oh yeah, it's been 6 squads since the very start too, as the circle is now going to be closing in, but it's the same case here. Splash, although they got that member knocked, they were able to reset because nobody's going to be able to push into that open field. They are getting flanked here as Bodhi Tony now takes that off angle, but by themselves, they know that Razor is waiting for that opportunity to keep putting down some pressure. You still has that other squad also by the building overlooking the cliff that could also take some shots, and as Vizio repositions, now they're overlooking a lot of the action though with the safety of these crates off to the side, and they have a lot of options available to them depending on where the circle is going to be pulling.
We're going to keep our eyes on We Touch Grass and how well their push ends up going. For Vizio, of course, it is just time to play the circle. They've got the data on where it's going to be most safe, not in terms of the next zone, but just playing it by ear with plenty of mobility and plenty of safety. Everybody on their squad is very hard to kill, with the Loba's ability to reposition, the Valkyrie's ability to take this guy, and the ability for Gibraltar, of course, to lay out an invincible area right in front of him. So they should be safe for now, and even just having a little bit of fun, I suppose. Grave in the black market. That's really all there is to shoot.
Oh yeah, right now, just especially with the Bocek that they have in their hand. Of course, having to appeal to Dia out here. They've heard us on the cast here, and Fury. We've been seeing a lot of the Bocek action actually in general, but with Fury being on this Loba, it's been very entertaining to see how they've also utilized the black market as some makeshift cover for themselves, especially when you're in a situation where you are running low on ammo but don't want to overcommit to looting through these death boxes. So you see the poke pressure still getting put on as Fury is landing those shots, even though they do have that red Evo. Scissors needs to put in some shots themselves so that way they can also boost up that Evo shield too.
You've heard of fan service, now it's caster service. These teams, they're like, I know Dia is watching, so we'll whip out the Bocek. He'll hype us up a little bit. It's a good trade-off, and I'll PayPal them later. They're doing God's work out here. For the moment, it's definitely been working out, but with the stalemate ever evolving, prioritizing the God spots later on is going to be really important. Those silos that Splash have are really the big ones that everybody is going to be looking at. We've got a few buildings and a few rocks scattered around, but for the most part, they who own the silos, especially in those later rings, really do end up benefiting the most, because if the ring closes in around them, there's not actually enough space for you to shoot up and hit somebody on top, so they act as effective cover.
Oh, and we're actually going to see a redeploy right now. You talk about the cover here, and that's why it's so important for these circle pools, depending on if we're going to have an open field circle or if we're going to be able to have more of a slow pace end circle here when it was so volatile at the beginning, but Vizio now want to get violent themselves. They're going to be able to choose violence, but he slips off the high ground? No way! He double took, he manages to use the bracelet to reposition, but that was scary. I know Fury had a mini heart attack.
Yeah, thank God, as he managed to just barely make it back to his squad. Vizio are now directly contesting Splash. It is the battle of these two, and Splash have already taken them down in the game score sense, but now have the chance to do it IRL as Scissors pops that bat. He's not actually going to get it off in time, and Splash ended up taking the kill with the Bocek again. With Vizio dropping down now, it's up to Fury, but he is 1v2 on this low ground. The Arcstar is not quite going to connect. He goes down, and Splash collect more kills, but Jet now, having taken a chunk out of Messiah, leaves Splash with just one member alive, and in Overlook as well, all the way in the deepest part of the Western Ring. A res is going to go off. Will it be enough?
Oh man, and the Nox Grenade too for some extra insurance to guarantee that they could go up on this high ground without getting contested. They see that their squad is getting the res, and they get so appropriately, but can they have enough time with Blight not able to reset just yet? The Nox Grenade is still putting some pressure. He gets Jet. They actually come out on top. There is no way they reset that entire situation. They were able to actually come on top after another reset. I do not know how they do it, but they have an in-game rage factor, and what? Fury is alive. Fury's alive still here from Vizio, and look at the two mobile respawn beacons. This is some extra cover if I see so myself.
Oh my lord, but he's got two members pushing up on him, and it's two members that really want to get Messiah back in this game. Can they do it? But right now, the elimination of Fury will be enough. The swipe comes through, but Splash are going to be suffering with this ring closing in right now. It is slow, but it is sure, and again, they do not have Messiah. Gonna get a small shield swap for right now. We're down to the top 4 squads. The Splash don't have what looks like enough time. Let's see if they can change our minds.
With the bombardment here, it bought some time to force TBA inside this building, but now TBA has to split their attention in 2 different directions. That's still Splash right behind them, and if they can get through that staircase, they won't get contested here, but look at TBA, full man squad holding onto the roof and getting that knock is so important, as well as that crack with Razor going down, losing 2 members, only up to 1 rep from Razor to keep this alive.
Razor are done now, really, and with TBA sending it down onto the low ground as well, they're gonna move us not to our top 3, but our top 2 squads, with what I can only assume to be Splash right there. Still the 2 members remaining. They've taken a 2v3 just seconds ago, but they got to do it against TBA now, one of the most experienced rosters that we have seen today. Both these squads have already taken their fair share of wins, and it's up to one of them to double down today on the low ground. Bubble goes down, and Splash are biding their time.
My goodness, look at the amount of damage Sung has put in. Nox Grenade, the option coverage between the Nox Grenade and the barrel too. TBA is now fully sending it. They finally get Phoenix. It's just 1 member left from Splash, and TBA is looking well and alive as they take the final game, the second game for them in the night.
Doubling down on the victory, TBA looks so good, and Splash, having made it to second, accrued a heck of a lot of points themselves. They have impressed time and time again today, and even in that last game, they didn't let up. They took one 2v3, but the second one was a little too much.
Oh man, yeah, that was so intense here. But still, the amount of KP that they secured from themselves, again, they only won one game, but still with their other previous games, not only between the placement but the KP, but they have skyrocketed up in the leaderboards and have been sitting in first place pretty comfortably since the beginning.
And it was really amazing to watch how they managed to steal that game away. Of course, we will be taking a very short break to see how Yeso breaks this one down, because it was absolute chaos, Vicky. The highest octane game we've had so far. When we get back, we'll see who ended up walking away with the win.
Hey, my name is Kimchi Lee.
My name is Cruisin.
My name is Enemy.
Boom! Excedrin, congratulations, Team Tonka.
And I play Apex Legends.
And I play Apex Legends for Team Excedrin.
For Team Excedrin, and you're watching Excedrin Week. Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Enemy taking time to hit that bad. They're stuck on the low.
Let's go!
Slow ring closing in. It's going to be the full set, and it is Team Excedrin on the other side of this one. Kimchi Lee receiving.
Rotate out towards that building. But it looks like Kimchi's
Between Excedrin and Jewelers and Excedrin's, this is not a fight you want to lose right now. You need these points. Thankfully, Cruisin, sitting with a purple shield to boot, definitely has all the makings to find success here. The series.
At the end of the night, TBA is able to match Excedrin with 2 wins apiece as they close out strong, and Splash try to grab their second win, but with that third player going down, the 2v3 doesn't work out in their favor, but they still come up with another strong showing in game number 5. But the question is TBA. Of course, it was Splash and Excedrin at the top going into the final game of the day. Did TBA throw a wrench into that formula? We'll have to see when we check out the standings momentarily. But first, let's check out our final player of the game here for tonight. Of course, it's open night in Excedrin week, and it's been a very exciting start to this sponsored week. But our player of the game this time is going to go to Davis Wave. 5 kills and 2 assists there on the Gibraltar, and just short of 1,600 damage in that game. Davis Wave and the TBA squad showing up strong. Both Davis Wave and Stomps each grabbing their own respective player of the game honors for tonight, and well played from them. We'll have to keep an eye on TBA. This is a really good team that has been putting up very solid results so far in the new year, so definitely one of those open squads to keep your eye on as the action continues. But the real question here at the end is, was anybody able to catch Splash at the top of our Mobile One leaderboard? Did somebody maybe jump in ahead of Excedrin and steal away second place from a squad playing during their sponsored week? We'll find out here momentarily. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll see what Vicky and Dia have to say and take a final look at those standings here momentarily, and then I'll be back to close the show. So don't go anywhere.
Now, even the biggest headaches are toast.
Excedrin keeps your head in the game.
For no more throbbing noggins.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the casting desk, and we have in our hands the data, the moment that you've all been waiting for. Vicky, it has been 5 action-packed games to bring us to this moment. Such exciting plays, and now we finally get to see who came out on top. Was anybody able to beat Splash? Who was able to take down Vizio? Let's tune in to our Mobile One leaderboard to find out.
Had to see Team Splash, they bring the tradition, and look by how much they won by here, Dia. 96 points in first place. TBA won 2 games. They won Game 3 and Game 5 with a good amount of KP themselves, and look how far away they are from the gap that Team Splash built up since the very beginning. Again, have to highlight that Team Splash only won 1 game, and it was game number 2, but they were consistently within the top 3 to 5 squads for each and every one of those games with a handful of KP to work with.
It was well and away enough. Splash impressed us time and time again, and like you said, it wasn't in the wins that they were doing it. It was in the way that they approached everything from the mid-game to the end game, and for a team that was really prioritizing being inside of zone that we normally see have a little bit more of a relaxed approach. It was Messiah that was constantly pushing them to be more aggressive, Blight that was really taking it up, and Team Splash coalesced together in this perfect balance of being in zone and an aggressive team that will challenge and take you down.
I love this gameplay that we had seen from them, and you could see Team Vizio, the team that has been winning every single week so far within the Series E open bracket, has just now fallen to 4th place, but still with 46 points here, they're still within the top 5, so you can't be sleeping even though they had 1 off week.
And let's take a look back at last game, see what that Mobile One high performance moment was, because once again, we found ourselves spoiled for choice. TBA in their victory ultimately ended up taking down Razor from the top of the building and honestly made it look easy.
It was so fantastic to see Stomps also reposition in a very similar way that we had seen Messiah actually reposition. Of course, that's the power of the Valk, to be able to get really aggressive and then just go right back to the high ground where you were already before. But you could see with this damage output that TBA was holding on to this building from the very beginning for a very long time. And just to be able to split some of that attention from their back end all the way to the front where they had to contest Team Splash, although it was a duo for that last fight, they put up a fantastic fight, and TBA is a scary team to look out for.
They really are. I am looking forward to seeing them return as a recently formed roster. These guys, like we talked about again, with their experience, have been absolutely dominating. If you've been a long-time Esports Arena viewer, you'll actually recognize Stomps from Pop-Tarts way back in the day, and how much he has grown, and continuing to return to Esports Arena for that top level of competition really is showing off. Congratulations, of course, though, go to Team Splash for taking that big victory and for finally ending the reign of Vizio.
Oh yeah, and again, what an amazing performance that they put on. It was very entertaining, high pack too. You saw the change up in composition where they decided to slow things down a little bit. I feel like going forward into game number 3 and game number 4, and that switch up keeps up these the opposition on their toes too. So Team Splash, they got really aggressive, but they knew when to call the shots when it comes to holding back.
Yeah, it was a show of reactivity, really, where they were able to adapt. We talked about adapting in game, adapting to new metas, and in this particular case, adapting to the way that a tournament flows around you, even sending it into Thermal in that 6th game to shut down their competition.
Oh, yeah.
These guys were firing on all cylinders, and they were doing it all day. Amazing stuff from Splash, and Vicky, amazing stuff from you. It was wonderful to work with you here on Esports Arena, and I want to thank you so much, and to all of you for tuning in. And now, it's back over to Yeso for that final closeout.
Thanks, you two. A pleasure to get to listen to both of you here tonight. Always fun, and you guys add a lot to the show here, so we appreciate it. But congratulations to Team Splash. Not a real big surprise with the lead that they were able to build through the first 3 to 4 games, but they do come out on top here. A 96-point performance, the best we have seen from Splash in a very long time, and a huge boon for them. Of course, we were talking about that 58-point gap coming into tonight between themselves and Excedrin, and while I believe they are just still behind Excedrin there, they have definitely jumped up into that conversation near the top of the standings, and I believe may have unseated Intel from third place. So well played on their part. They're going to need to continue to build on that performance. And we do also have to, of course, talk about Excedrin. It is Excedrin week here, and they had another good showing here tonight. Of course, disappointing to have TBA steal second place from them at the very last moment here tonight with that last game win. But at the very least, this is Excedrin, you know, back-to-back weeks with top 3 placings on open night. This is the consistency you're hoping for from this team. And the thing to point out is, if you look at the history of Series E, you don't have to come in first place. You don't have to win specific nights to succeed, do well, and finish at the top of the standings. It's all about the consistency that we have seen from the likes of a Team Excedrin. But the problem will be is Team Vizio, of course, while they are finally unseated from their top spot here on an open night and their streak ends at 4, those kinds of consistent top finishes and big point nights make it difficult for squads like Excedrin to catch up to them. But at the very least, Excedrin putting in very good work tonight. They do beat Vizio in the standings here tonight, and they've got a lot to be proud of, so we'll see if it can continue. Of course, that's going to do it for the show tonight. We will be back for Pro Night tomorrow, once again at 4 p.m. Pacific time. If you miss out on any of the Apex action tonight or tomorrow, we will have series recap this Friday for you to catch up on all of the Series E action, so make sure not to miss out on that. But that's going to do it for our show, folks. My name is Yeso. It's been a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. For myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for joining us here during Excedrin Week. We'll see you again tomorrow.
to attack. I feel like I lost it, I see through the gas. Obnoxious, I'm knocking, yeah, I'm taking your bag. I feel like I'm caustic, looting your buddy, your homie still choking on gas. I'm laughing, banging the enemy, hoping they pick up your slack. Yeah, winning now feels like a thing of the past. Your props are gonna throw up the glass. We take what we want, we leave in the trash. Racking up facts as we move through the map. We're waiting for people to follow my track. Through the swamps, don't we take what we want? Jumping down, living some 50 gang. What we own, man, through the door, flat line, like you up. Always getting what we want, but it never is enough.
My methods are only controversial to those who lack imagination.
I feel like I'm caustic, I'm breathing on gas. They're on the smoke, patient we wait to attack. I feel like I lost it, I see through the gas. Obnoxious, I'm knocking, yeah, I'm taking your bag. I feel like I'm caustic, I'm breathing on gas.